her as Fanny Escalona. She was found unresponsive in the water yesterday morning before later dying at the hospital. Investigators are still trying to figure out what happened and how she actually got there. Police in Bountiful investigating what led to a man being fatally shot overnight. Lieutenant Andrew Smith shares what we know so far.
About 1 o'clock this morning, the Bountiful Dispatch Center received a report of multiple gunshots in the area of 1950 South.
Police located a man who had been shot. He later died at the hospital. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Illinois, the latest state to try and take former President Donald Trump off their primary ballot. Attorney Karen Lederer talks about how the state is citing the 14th Amendment.
Section 3 of the 14th Amendment provides that you're disqualified from office if you engage in insurrection after taking an oath to uphold the Constitution.
Former President Trump's lawyers have until tomorrow to file an appeal. Your money at this moment, the markets are mixed. The Dow is down, but not by much, off 23 points. The S&P is up 11, and the Nasdaq now up 67 points this hour. Coming up, one more warm day, and then back to winter, it looks like, for the weekend. We'll check your full forecast next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Are you looking to get a COVID-19 booster to stay healthy this cold and flu season? If you join the Beehive study, you'll have the chance to receive up to $550 for getting a booster and completing weekly COVID tests and brief surveys about your health. Don't want to get a COVID-19 booster? That's okay too. You can still join the Beehive study and receive up to $550 for completing the weekly COVID tests and surveys. Help advance research at the University of Utah while taking care of yourself this season. Call 801-203-0320 or email beehivestudy@utah.edu to learn more. You can also visit the study website at beehivestudy.com.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Thinking about gas mileage. You know, changing your oil with a full synthetic oil like Castrol Edge can help your engine get more miles. Right now, you can get 5 quarts with an STP Extended Life Oil Filter for only $36.99. Get started on your next job today with the parts you need when you need them at AutoZone or AutoZone.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
37,000, 25, 1. These are the 3 numbers to remember to get the visibility and control you need to make the right business decisions instantly. 37,000. That's the number of businesses which have upgraded to NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system, streamlining accounting, financial management, inventory, HR, and more. 25. NetSuite turns 25 this year. That's 25 years of helping businesses do more with less, close their books in days, not weeks, and drive down expenses. 1. Because your business is one of a kind, so you get a customized solution for all of your KPIs in one efficient system with one source of truth. Manage risk, get reliable forecasts, and improve margins. Everything you need to grow, all in one place. Right now, download NetSuite's popular KPI checklist, designed to give you consistently excellent performance absolutely free at netsuite.com/company. That's netsuite.com/company to get your own KPI checklist. netsuite.com/company.
Let's get a look at traffic and weather together here. Brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. How's it looking, Michelle?
Well, it's still a miserable ride for people trying to make their way through the Provo area, Tim. We're seeing the delays backing almost to 400 south in Springville. That's going all the way up to the S-curves where we had an earlier truck that had jackknifed the trailer on it. Also, if you're trying to make your way on Geneva to avoid that, that's also a slow ride there as well. Lagoon is looking for ride maintenance technicians. Lagoon offers excellent mechanical training programs with amazing career opportunities. Ride maintenance technician position is full-time and year-round. Details visit lagoonpark.com/jobs. I'm Michelle Rowan, the KSL Traffic Center.
It'll be a partly cloudy day today. A high will be 58. Will warm up just a notch tomorrow. but it's the wind as we start to set the stage for that weekend storm that we'll be concentrating on today, especially if you're going to be up in the canyon areas. Right now in Salt Lake City, just cloudy and 39 this hour. From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, I'm Tim Hughes. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
We have some new legislation that's being passed on Capitol Hill since we last left you, and we're going to take a really in-depth look this morning at this new school guardian bill that I believe it's on its way to the governor's desk, Dave. We're going to find out for sure where things are at.
And we found a study, Debbie, that is absolutely fascinating. It is counterintuitive to me. It's counterintuitive of how to keep kids safe in the case of a mass shooting incident. It will absolutely surprise you. It's 9:06. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And brought to you by Mountain America Credit Union, here are the 3 things that Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
Well, I heard Heather Kelly reporting this on Utah's Morning News, Dave, as I was getting ready this morning, and I thought, wow, the alphabet of Utah traffic intersections, wreaking havoc for drivers. We've got the T intersections, the Y intersections, and I personally think any intersection that allows for U-turn is dangerous, especially at like 50 miles an hour or whatever. There's a 5-year study out that cites the most dangerous intersections for people, cars, drivers, passengers in Utah. And we're going to take an in-depth look at that in just about 45 minutes.
I hadn't thought about that. We are using all the letters. The T, the Y, the U. What I wonder is, are we overcomplicating it? Because I think we have so many different kinds of intersections and roundabouts and on-ramps and off-ramps. It is just incredibly difficult to keep them all straight. I've been teaching kids to drive the last 3 or 4 years, teaching my kids, my young kids, and I tell them something, and then I'm like, oh, except this intersection. Oh, except this off-ramp. It is confusing, and that makes it dangerous.
Countdown. 2.
This is not a broken record, but President Biden just forgave $1.2 billion in student loans. It's about 1,000 Utahns who are going to benefit, almost. So if you're confused, because it feels like Biden's loan forgiveness is all over the map and he's rolling it out a little bit here and a little bit there, well, don't worry, friends. President Biden can't even keep it straight either.
If they took if they borrowed less than $2,000, it's forgiven. They $12,000, excuse me. The loan is forgiven.
No, if you borrowed less than the $2,500, what's this plan again? It's hard to keep straight because he's done it so many different times. So a few billion here, a few billion there. Over $130 billion have been forgiven. Now, Debbie, my wife has returned to school.
Mm-hmm.
We've finally, for the first time ever, the Noriegas have taken out student loans. My question is, should I start paying them back right now? Or should I just sit on it and wait for the Biden lottery to hit?
Launch. Countdown. 1.
Armed guards inside our schools and our classrooms. Utah now has a plan in place to arm school employees. In a moment, we're going to talk in depth with KSL News Radio's Adam Small, who's been tracking the developments on Capitol Hill to explain how this will play out in our schools. And then at 9:20, the very concerning results of a sweeping study of more than 100 school shootings. They've studied 133 school shootings across the country, and it showed that armed guards don't make things safer. They actually make the situation worse, Dave.
That was such a shocking conclusion. It seems so counterintuitive. It doesn't make common sense. So you're going to have to walk me through why this is the case.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The Launch.
Commence.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
Let's start here with what is happening on Utah's Capitol Hill about the plan to put armed guards in Utah schools. It's gotten the green light, and I want to find out how this is going to play out once it gets into schools, Dave.
Yes. Is this the Guardian bill?
This is the Guardian bill. Adam Small, KSL News Radio, heard you talking about it this morning, reporting about the developments on Utah's Morning News. What can you tell us?
Well, the big thing to know is that this bill is on its way to the governor's desk, and it's now down to Governor Cox. It's made its way through the legislature, but the big thing that it does is when it was first introduced, the idea was to let teachers, principals, all sorts of school employees be able to volunteer as armed guards, but the bill has been gone through like 5 different substitutes. So basically now it's school employees, not teachers or principals, can volunteer as an armed guard in cases of emergency. I believe in other stories and articles I read about this bill, I think Representative Ryan Wilcox brought this forward after that crazy day last year where we had all those school hoax threats around the state. And so he wanted to address school security after that. So basically it would allow these school employees to volunteer as an armed guard. They can work either alongside or even in some places potentially in place of a school resource officer because some schools in Utah don't have a school resource officer.
But to clarify, teachers and principals are not included in this?
Yeah, so this is school employees, not teachers, not principals. That was a big change from the first version of the bill.
And the reason being what?
Well, I just think there was a lot of concern with having, I don't know, maybe it was either too many employees or maybe people that close to students being able to jump out into action in an emergency. I wasn't able to catch all the debates, but I know there were a lot of concerns around this bill from the get-go. And I know teachers and principals, they do have, very specific duties, and maybe they thought other employees would just be better if they were the ones to jump in.
Yeah, I can imagine a teacher has a lot on their plate all day long, and we've spoken live on the air to a school janitor who called in and said, "Hey, I conceal carry on campus." The school resource officer, they're police officers, they're just assigned to the schools, knows that I carry, and he seemed like he was in a good place with that, that he was happy to do that. That was part of, it felt like his responsibility to keep the kids safe. Probably has a lot more flexibility than a teacher who's trying to get a bunch of children to the next class,
So, Adam, does this version allow for training and set aside money for those people that volunteer?
So I believe that a lot of, at least earlier on in the bill, a lot of the funding was already self-funded. Ryan Wilcox came very prepared to make sure we had the funding needed for this bill. In terms of training, this bill does a ton. I believe it actually sets up a council to kind of oversee this program as I was skimming through the bill text this morning. So I am sure training is going to be a huge part of it, making sure, okay, we need to know who these volunteers are. Do they know how to use a gun? I'm sure that's going to be a huge part of it.
And certainly would be important to be in cooperation with law enforcement who's responsible for those particular schools so they know exactly when they enter a school building who the armed gunman is, the bad guy, mostly the bad guy, and who the teacher is. So, Adam Small, thank you so much for bringing us up to date on that. I know you'll continue to keep us posted throughout the day as that bill makes it to the governor's desk.
We're going to examine a little bit more about whether or not this truly makes our schools safer.
We found a review of 133 school shootings. I've been able to look through it. You've been able to read through it. They looked at 133 school shootings across the entire country. And this was a sweeping study of how effective armed guards at schools actually are in saving lives of children. And it turns out they actually make things worse. More next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's Morning News and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
This is Trent Reed with Ryan Valuation, formerly Economics Partners. We built one of the premier valuation firms in the country, then were acquired by Ryan Tax, for a great valuation, by the way. Now, as Ryan Valuation, we're the same top valuation practice with the resources of a global firm. Love him or hate him, or anything in between, if Trump had hired us, he wouldn't have New York claiming he owes them $354 million. I'm half kidding, but in all seriousness, there is no better team to hire for your valuation needs than my team. Whether you're an attorney needing help with litigation over a valuation matter, a business owner or executive needing your company valued for tax, financial reporting, or strategic reasons, a private equity partner needing valuation of your portfolio, or an accountant with a client needing a valuation, Ryan Valuation is the right call. We're headquartered here in Utah, but do our work nationwide. To hire the best, email us at valuations@ryan.com. That's valuations@ryan.com.
When winter weather strikes,
Terrible conditions from snow lingering from the overnight hours.
KSL has you covered.
One of our listeners said it took him an hour to get from Lehigh to Draper this morning.
don't let the sun fool you. The next blast of winter comes this weekend. Get an accurate forecast every 10 minutes on the 9s.
On KSL News Radio.
At this time of year, isn't it great to have something to look forward to? There's something about January and February. You've just got to have that thing on the calendar you're so looking forward to. Might I recommend dinner at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse? Let's talk about Hotel Park City. That's where you're going to find Ruth's Chris Steakhouse up in Summit County. After a day of skiing, it is the perfect way to wrap up that perfect day at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. And then, of course, right in the heart of downtown Salt Lake City, we have a Ruth's Chris Steakhouse here as well, right in the middle of all the action. So whether it's a play, a ball game, whatever it might be, that delicious dinner, it's waiting for you at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Plus, it's only fair to remind you that Valentine's Day now is just around the corner, and your sweetheart is going to love that amazing meal. Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, 275 Southwest Temple, and also Hotel Park City. The meal you're waiting for, it's waiting for you at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse.
Sometimes when our furnace stops working, it's something simple we can fix ourselves, if we only knew how. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and the next time your furnace stops working, before you call a company out to fix it, try this first. Go shut the furnace down and make sure your air filter is clean. Go around the house and make sure the vents are open and there's nothing blocking the return airs. If it's been a while since you've changed the batteries in your thermostat, go ahead and do that too. Then go turn the furnace back on, and if it stays on, you're probably good. If it stops working again, you're probably going to want a technician to check it out. If you don't know one, Any Hour Services has a special offer for any homeowners listening. One of our HVAC technicians will diagnose and troubleshoot your furnace for only $29. Then they'll explain what they found and present you with repair options. And don't worry, our technicians service all brands. Call Any Hour Services and let them know you heard about this $29 troubleshooting special on the radio. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Hi friends, Dan the Laptop Man here from PC Laptops. I get a lot of emails from people all the time. Here's one. Dear Dan, I hear your talk about a lifetime service guarantee. Free? Really? Please help me avoid all your fine print and be honest about what free means. You understand that we should be very wary of a free offer. Signed, Skeptical. Hi, Skeptical. I remember 22 years ago when we started PC Laptops and our lifetime service guarantee, people thought it was too good to be true. Well, after a decade, people started believing me a little bit. But it's been 22 years of having the privilege to serve our friends and neighbors like you. Our lifetime service guarantee has become the most trusted warranty in the industry. You can get a brand new PC Laptops desktop computer, and they start at only $29 a month. Check us out at PCLaptops.com. That's PCLaptops.com. Here's to seeing you soon, Skeptical.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, four-way intersections are the most deadly for Utah drivers. Second, President Biden and former President Donald Trump will be making their second campaign stops at the U.S.-Mexico border today. And third, two bills that would lower the state income tax rate and expand a child tax credit are now heading to the governor's desk. We're going to look for a high today of 58 degrees. We've got some wind, some clouds, and a little bit of sunshine, 39 in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
Look, the Utah legislature just approved a plan to get armed guardians in our schools. And we talked to Adam Small about what this would look like. And then we started looking around, Dave and I did, and Dave actually found this study from 2021. It's a U.S. Office of Justice program study that specifically looked at armed guards, and the question is if they're a deterrent when a gunman, an active shooter, walks into a school. And I was astonished at the results of this study. You said it best, Dave. It's counterintuitive to what you think would happen at a school.
Yes, my assumption, and I think this is most assumptions, and certainly the assumption of the Utah State Legislature as they passed the Guardian Bill that would allow paraprofessionals, janitors, cafeteria staff to actually train, bring a gun to school in case of a mass shooter situation. Then they could respond with a gun that they brought. That intuitively, common sense tells me that's a good thing. But this study says absolutely not. That is not what happens.
Let me pick your brain. What do you mean by a good thing? What's your vision when you think, oh, this will deter?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
So my vision, or the way I have it in my brain, is the mass shooter comes into the school. And as everyone is scrambling away, say you have a half dozen people in the school that are armed, that are trained, and they go to engage the shooter while police are trying to arrive on scene. That to me seems better than letting the shooter just wander around the halls as teachers are huddling in their classrooms trying to barricade doors.
So let's take a deeper look at that study. They actually looked at 133 different school shootings from 1980 to 2019. And the age ranges of the suspects, the perpetrators, were 10 years old to 53. So that tells me the guns that were used or the amount of bullets that the person had with them, it varies greatly, right? Because you think of a 10-year-old, like what kind of access did they have, versus a 53-year-old, right? Might have been at the local Walmart buying up all the bullets.
Yeah, and it does say in this study the majority of these shootings were handguns.
Right. So you've got these 133 cases of school shootings. And also, I think that the reason for this study, Dave, came out of the Florida law that also requires, kind of similar to what we did here in Utah this week with the guardian legislation on Capitol Hill. Florida has guardians in schools. Not all schools yet, but they were one of the first ones to do this because they were responding to the mass shooting. They had the one at Parkland. And
Marjorie Stone.
Marjorie Stone. And so, Florida puts these guardians in place, and so now here comes the study of 133 different school shootings, and as you pointed out, with handguns. And they look at whether armed guards being at the school, or somebody who's armed, was effective. And all the schools they looked at, I thought this was curious, only 25% of them had this armed guard or guardian there. But it's kind of a newer program, so I guess that makes sense. It wasn't around in 1980. We just didn't have the need for them. The situation wasn't then like it is now. So what they found in the data, they found that there's no association between having an armed guard and deterrence of violence. That armed guards were not associated with a significant reduction in injuries. And the rate of deaths, here's the kicker, folks. The rate of deaths was almost 3 times greater in schools with an armed guard there.
How can that be? Again,
what do you
I keep saying counterintuitive. It doesn't make any sense to me because if somebody comes in and they're shooting up a school and a guard, or a resource officer or a police officer engages them, how does that not make it safer?
So the study even says an armed officer on the scene was the number one factor associated with increased casualties after the perpetrator's use of assault rifles or submachine guns. Okay, so here's what it says. Because I'm with you, Dave. I feel like if I'm thinking of this, I'm using my mom brain and also my journalist brain and having covered a number of shootings, you would think that somebody who's on scene, like a police officer already, would be able to deter the violence or stop the violence, right? Because it's now it's kind of equal to some degree. But if it's a handgun and so you feel like in your head it's like that would be a solution. But what the study found is that whenever firearms are present, there's room for error, which makes sense. I would even say there's room for fear, even if you've been trained and you're not doing this all the time. And the element of surprise walks through the door with a machine gun or submachine gun. There's that too, and so you're reacting to that, and then there's this room for error that the study found, and they said even highly trained officers get the split-second decisions wrong.
Of course.
And then there's something else I think,
which we saw in Uvalde.
Yeah,
we saw hundreds of officers respond to this mass shooting, and they were all paralyzed. They did nothing. They waited over an hour.
Yeah,
as children were barricaded in the classroom with the shooter.
And dying.
Dave
and I talking about a Office of Justice Programs report put out by the federal government of 133 different school shootings from 1980 to 2019. And that, in fact, with armed guards, and we're talking about this because of the Guardian bill that passed up on Capitol Hill that in Utah allows for guardians with guns to be in schools. And these would be, like you said, Dave, paraprofessionals or janitors, people in the schools who would be able to be trained and guard our kids if the worst happens. And the study found that they actually make things worse. So they've said that so one suggestion that came up in this study is that a lot of school shooters go in with the mindset that they're suicidal. So they mean they want to die when they're there. So an armed guard or an armed officer may be an incentive instead of a deterrent.
Okay, walk me through that a little bit more. Like how would they be an incentive rather than a deterrent?
So we've heard and we've covered, and most of our listeners are probably familiar with the term suicide by cop. Think of all the times that police officers, and you've seen in news stories, have been called to scenes because there's a barricaded subject inside of a home, somebody who's going through some sort of mental crisis in the moment, and they don't have it in them to commit the act on their own, and so they engage an officer, and it's a horrible, horrible situation, right? It's terrible. The person who's going through the mental health crisis doesn't see another way out. The police officer put in a horrible situation because sometimes that person will start firing at them. Mm-hmm. And so what happened, I don't have any proof that that's what's happening in schools based on this study, but what they concluded is it could be actually an incentive rather than a deterrent for somebody who is looking to die by suicide in that moment. But they also go and think about the active shooters that we've covered, and so often there's so much prep that they've done. They've been off the radar. Nobody knows they're out doing this. They're out buying up weapons. They're out buying up bullets. And their mindset by the time they get to that location is they're all in. They've crossed that line. I don't think this is hopeless, though. The study also pointed out that instead of focusing on guardians who are armed, schools, public officials should be investing in resources to prevent the shooting in the first place. And we've done that to a lot of schools already.
Yes. Yeah, we've hardened the sites. We've made it a little harder. We've locked more doors. We've been more vigilant. Definitely, we've done more training. I think ultimately, again, I just think of myself, and my wife is a paraprofessional in a school.
That's right.
So she would absolutely qualify for this Guardian program. We haven't discussed whether or not she would participate. We don't carry guns in our family, but I will just say this. Personally, if I'm thinking if there was a mass shooter situation at her school, heaven forbid, would I feel safer if she were armed? Yes. Even though this report and this study says that is not the case. Again, this is why it's counterintuitive.
That's a great point, Dave. And we're trying to reach out to the lawmaker, the chief sponsor of this legislation, to ask if they reviewed this study and other studies. I'm sure they did. This was a massive undertaking by the Utah State Legislature. This bill was packed full of information, but we still want to talk to him sometime in the show today. Straight ahead, as we've just talked about, we have a mental health crisis on our hands, but not enough providers there to help. A new proposal on Capitol Hill is working to fix that. So we're going to talk to the sponsor of that legislation straight ahead.
It's 9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Tim Hughes with a look at some of our top stories. A man accused of killing a Provo police officer back in 2019 will be in court today. Investigators say that Matt Hoover shot Officer Joseph Shinners when he was trying to arrest Hoover in Orem. The case was delayed last year, and the trial is expected to last about 3 weeks. 2 Utah schools have had carbon monoxide leaks in 2024. Sherry Pace with the Utah Poison Control Center says we've got to stay up to date on furnace and carbon monoxide detector upkeep.
Just regular maintenance, certainly yearly, maybe even more often in a situation like a school or something like that.
We also had reports of a church and some connected townhome units that also had leaks this year. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration reports 4-way intersections are the deadliest for Utah drivers.
Overall, Utah has one of the lowest death rates per capita for traffic accidents. However, more than 1,200 Utahns died in crashes over a 5-year study. According to the data, almost a quarter of those fatalities happened at intersections, with the 4-way exchange being the deadliest. The second most dangerous in Utah is the 3-way stop or T intersection, followed by a Y intersection. The Y interchange is a junction where the road splits into 2 different directions from one road. The study is a reminder for drivers to be extra vigilant at any type of interchange. Heather Kelly, KSL News Radio.
Your money at this moment, the markets are mixed. The Dow in the red now by about 11 points, just a fraction really. The S&P is up 9, that's 0.2%. The NASDAQ up percentage-wise just a bit more, 0.3% with a gain of 49. Coming up, a warm day today, even just a slightly warmer day tomorrow, but then the bottom drops out. Winter returns for the weekend. We'll check the forecast next. KSL News Time, 9:33.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
I've been on this program with Salt Lake City Fat Loss for a little over a month now, and I've seen some incredible results. But one of the things I love about this program is every single day I get a couple of videos that teaches me a little bit more about fat loss. And one thing that I just loved is they said, when you're weighing yourself, and I weigh myself every single day, said losing weight isn't linear. It's not a straight line. There are some days where you'll gain a pound or gain a half a pound over a couple of days, and then you drop again. It's a little bit like descending a mountain. There's some ups and downs, but you're headed in the right direction. That was really important for me because I learned to keep the motivation. Even if I have a couple of bad days, I know that in the long term, I'm going to keep losing. And that's exactly what I've done. I've lost over 30 pounds in 30 days. It's been absolutely fantastic. Without surgery, without injections, no point counting, no exercise, and no prepackaged meals. All you have to do is check out Salt Lake City Fat Loss by going to their website, slcfatloss.com. That's slcfatloss.com. You'll schedule your free consultation in person or virtually, or give them a call, 801-450-1882. That's 801-450-1882.
When Cynthia came to TurboTax, she had just launched her new side gig, a true crime podcast.
I'm a first-rate detective with a golden voice.
As her TurboTax expert, I made her second income count by guaranteeing 100% accurate filing and her maximum refund.
What did she do with that refund? Find out next week.
Switch to Intuit TurboTax and make your moves count. See guarantee details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
If you only have a 401k, you're not getting the most for retirement.
Wait, what?
Add a Robinhood IRA on top, then they'll boost it by 3%.
You can do that?
And if you transfer in any retirement account, you get 3% on top of that.
Is there a limit to the match?
No limit. Robinhood Gold gets you the biggest contribution match of any IRA on the market. Sign up for Robinhood Gold at Robinhood.com/boost by April 30th. Subscription fees apply.
Investing involves risk. 3% match requires gold for 1 year from first match. Must keep IRA for 5 years. Match on transfers subject to additional terms and conditions. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC.
If you're trying to decide which gutter protection to put on your home, don't just ask how they'll handle leaves. Ask how they'll handle ice. Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and that's right, ice. See, plenty of gutter guards are good at keeping out leaves, but most are made with flimsy materials that can bend, buckle, and break under the weight of too much ice. Kind of a big problem in an icy state like Utah, right? At RGS Exteriors, our exclusive gutter protection systems are built Utah tough. They're made with premium strength materials that hold up to 1,200 pounds of ice per square foot. Simply put, they're not going to budge. Our gutter guards are also certified to handle hurricane-level winds and rain. Mother Nature can't damage them. Guaranteed. Utah Tough Products. That's the RGS way. For a free estimate, call 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's rgsexteriors.com or 801-280-3110.
Traffic and weather together is brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents a gallon. Michelle Rowe is back in the traffic center.
Well, we have a couple of delays on Bangerter Highway. This is eastbound as you're approaching Redwood Road in the Riverton area. And then northbound, we also have some slowing as you're approaching 4700 South. The 9th Annual Salt Lake Off-Road and Outdoor Expo March 1st and 2nd at Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy. Over $40,000 in giveaway prizes. Kids 12 and under are free. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy day today. We'll have a little bit of sunshine through those clouds, and they'll gradually increase through the day tomorrow. And it actually gets warmer from 58 today to 59 tomorrow, starting with rain in the valleys tomorrow overnight, and then snow coming for the weekend with much colder temperatures. Right now in Salt Lake City, it's 43 degrees. From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, I'm Tim Hughes. Remember to listen online at kslnewsradio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Eye on the Hill 2024. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
If you have tried to make an appointment with a behavioral health therapist, good luck. It's rough out there. There's a state report that explains why, Dave. It says Utah has a substantial widespread behavioral health access problem. So what they're saying is we can't get into therapists. And in fact, more than 500,000 Utahns who need behavioral health care services are not currently receiving them.
I can't say I'm surprised. It's not a very high-paying job. My son was looking into it. He's a senior in high school, and he was really looking into this. And we saw what it paid, and we did some research. $50,000-$60,000 a year, and it just wasn't as much as he wanted. As excited as he was, the pay wasn't there. So there's a little bit of a problem here. There's a huge demand, but it's not a very high-paying job.
There's also I think it's kind of tricky to get into the profession. You got to take...
It's demanding?
Yeah, it's very demanding.
Yeah,
and
a master's degree in many cases.
Yeah, and there's an exam involved. House sponsor of the legislation, Representative Corey Malloy, on the line with us. Good morning, Representative.
Good morning. It's good to be with you guys.
Well, this is such a horrible ordeal for so many families who are just seeking to get their loved ones or themselves mental health therapy. What's the main what would your legislation do?
Well, you're hitting it right on the head. We have a huge need, and we have some great people working in the behavioral health area, but they're the higher degree professionals. And so where we're really lacking is just a workforce of behavioral health care workers. And so what the bill does is it does two things. Basically, it creates a pathway for more workers to enter into the field, but also if you are, and we've created two new lower level, but important lower level positions that will kind of provide more healthcare workers, but also gives them a pathway to move up the experience and professional level, into master's level and above. And so that's what it basically does. The bill creates, and this was all based on research by the Office of Professional Licensure Review, who's been working on this for over a year. And they came back and made some recommendations for this policy that we're running, and SB 26 is the bill number. But what it does is it creates two new positions: a behavioral health technician, which is someone who can do a lot of the work that a therapist currently would have to do without doing therapy work. So they're not authorized to do therapy, but they can do care coordination. They can help in navigating patients to the therapist. They can help under general supervision and information gathering. The other position that's being created is a behavioral health coach, which can do all the things that a technician could do that I just talked about, but can also co-facilitate group therapy, but always with a therapist. In some limited contexts, they can draft and revise treatment planning. Again, this is all under the direction of a therapist. So we're not trying to create non-therapist therapists, but providing more hands, more help to create that healthcare workforce that we really need in the state.
Maybe this is an imperfect comparison, but it sounds a little bit like a nurse practitioner or a physician's assistant that is working directly under a doctor but can do a lot of the work that a regular doctor could. Is it akin to that?
Yeah, that's a good analogy, because as you probably are well aware, on our healthcare side, we still don't have enough medical healthcare workers throughout the state. We still need to do a lot of work there, but we have a broader range of help, like you just described, and that's what we're trying to do, is create that broader group of workforce that can help with behavioral health cases throughout the state.
We're speaking live with Representative Corey Malloy about a piece of legislation on Capitol Hill that would open the door for more mental health options for therapy for Utahns who need it. We've got hundreds of thousands of Utahns who are looking for mental health care. They just can't find it because there's such a shortage. If you've ever tried to call a therapist in the last year or so, it takes a long time to get in. You mentioned the Office of Professional Licensing in Utah, and they did this report, Representative, and they do say they get a significant number of complaints about people who are currently licensed. There's almost 400 annually or something like that. So I guess what I worry about is when we make it maybe easier, or there's a different track for mental health therapists. It's such an important role that they play in the lives of keeping our heads on straight. I mean, I've gone to them. I mean, they have so often helped me in moments of crisis. So I worry a little bit about making this path easier, although I understand that we have a big shortage out there. Are you concerned about that?
Clearly, and that's the second part of this bill, is the safety element. And I think the most important thing to understand is we're not really making it easier. Everybody that needs to be a licensed professional will need to still be a licensed professional. And so these new positions, they're going to be certification level and working directly with licensed professionals. And so, but the other things that we're implementing in this bill is direct client care hours and direct observation. So that's going to increase as you're going through these processes of licensure. There's going to be a need for more hours of actual client care under supervision and direct observation. the supervision will also increase, so that through training, certification, there's going to be a lot more supervision. So the goal is that the quality of supervision will increase. And then one thing, we have our therapists and clinicians who can work one-on-one with individuals in situations often where it's just the two of them. So in those levels, we're going to be requiring a criminal background check. This is just a safety thing. It's not making a judgment on anybody, but making sure that these patients are safe.
Sure, we got the right people in place who are treating these patients.
Representative Corey Malloy, thank you.
Yeah, we will continue to track the developments on that piece of legislation. Of course, the clock is ticking. Legislative session ends tomorrow night. We'll have plenty of coverage throughout the rest of the day today and tomorrow on the latest proposals that'll impact Utah families. Straight ahead, this is certainly impacting a lot of Utah families. The alphabet of Utah's traffic intersections. We've got the T intersection. We've got the Y intersection. What about the U-turn intersections that create all kinds of problems? Well, next, we're going to dive into a new report that cites the most dangerous intersections in Utah.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
The life of a small business owner. Keeping the lights on, calling all the shots. And then there's workplace accidents. 500-degree ovens, rusty nails. Danger lurks around every corner. Workplace accidents can happen, but there is an easy way to keep your employees covered. Talk to your agent about workers' comp coverage from Pi, or go to piinsurance.com and get a quote. Safety first, then Pi Insurance. Individual rates, offerings, and savings may vary, subject to policy terms and conditions. Not available in all states and situations.
Sign up for KSL text alerts and you could win cash. Text the word cash to 57500 for a chance to win $250. That's cash to 57500. Plus, you'll get breaking news and traffic updates right to your phone. Want to win more prizes? Text contest to 57500. Jazz fans, text the word jazz for breaking Utah Jazz news. And Cougar fans, text BYU to 57500 for the latest on the Cougars. Message and data rates may apply. For an alternate entry method and complete contest rules, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Imagine your team always looking and feeling their best in high-performance technical workwear. Cintas can make it happen. They have garments for almost every job imaginable. And with the Cintas Workwear program, you get freshly laundered garments delivered every week for everyone on your team. Great garments without the bother of laundry. That's a real perk for employees. Find out how Cintas can boost team image and morale. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
10. Nice work. Thanks. Taking Nugenix Total T makes a huge difference for me.
Nugenix? That's the testosterone booster with TV ads with Frank Thomas, right?
Yes.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles?
Yes. Nugenix is a great way to feel stronger with more energy and endurance. And as Frank says, you'll like it too.
Text ROCK to 369-369 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix. Text ROCK to 369-369. That's ROCK to 369-369.
Transform your old, outdated kitchen with Half Price Granite. For a limited time, Half Price Granite is offering special pricing starting at $25 per square foot installed. That's lower than most big box stores. These prices are some of the lowest around. Granite, quartz, marble, and quartzite, all starting at $25 per square foot installed. Call 801-486-1700 or visit halfpricegranite.com. Half Price Granite, affordable luxury.
Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save 40 to 80% on a hot tub and swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save 40 to 80% on a hot tub and swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Utah State Fair Park. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Utah State Fair Park. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Utah State Fair Park. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Utah State Fair Park. Friday, noon to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Utah State Fair Park. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
It's complicated. These days, that's how people even describe their relationship status. When it comes to the latest complexities in your car, it's gotten really complicated. The experts at AMCO undergo the most rigorous training to stay on top of the latest car technologies, so there's nothing we can't fix. Well, except for that complicated relationship. When it comes to that, you're on your own. AA, MCO. Check engine light on? We'll check it for free.
Join Mike Stevens of Capital Wealth Advisors for Retire Right Radio, Saturdays at 5 a.m. and 9 p.m. That's Retire Right Radio with Mike Stevens, Saturdays at 5 a.m. and 9 p.m.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, another school reported a carbon monoxide leak yesterday. It's the fourth CO2 leak in the past 2 months. Second, Utah lawmakers have passed two bills dealing with guns in schools. One would allow school employees other than teachers or principals to volunteer as armed guards. And third, police have identified the woman's body found in a Brigham City river as Fanny Escalona. We're going to look for a high today. Warm, 58 degrees right now in Salt Lake City with some clouds. It's 43. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave, and Dujanovic.
Talk about the alphabet of Utah traffic intersections that is causing havoc. And it's more than havoc, it's deaths. We've got the T intersections. We got the Y intersections. I personally think, and this study didn't talk about the U-turn intersections. I think they're extremely dangerous. You got somebody making a U-turn, traffic going 50 miles an hour, somebody turning right at the same time. It's just messy. There's this 5-year study that Dave and I want to talk about regarding the most dangerous types of intersections in Utah.
I know this is going to give a lot of city planners and engineers a heart attack with this statement, but you're overcomplicating things. I've been teaching my kids to drive. You know, we're kind of in that sweet spot over the last several years of kids learning how to drive. And every time I tell them a general rule will come up on an intersection that breaks that rule. Oh, sorry guys, there's actually no left-hand turn in this intersection. And as we're getting off the freeway, I'm like, oh yeah, just you'll typically do this or that. No, except this one. And it is dangerous. I've been with the kids.
I know.
Because they think they're doing what Dad said and what he taught them. And then you have this aberration of an intersection, and it is dangerous.
When we're driving, consistency is key, let's face it.
Absolutely.
You can't just be surprised by some intersection like what they've got going on there in Draper on the east side of the freeway there. I don't know who vomited up that intersection. Sorry, UDOT. But you all who, visit the concrete jungle that is like 123, 126, whatever we've decided that road is at that particular spot, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, to get on the freeway, you have to go right, and then you make this weird U-turn, and then you make another right to get on. It's just mind-numbing. It's mind-numbing. So guess what? I avoid it. Because I know no matter what I choose, it's going to be wrong or it's going to throw some other driver off. Let's go with Heather Kelly, KSL News Radio's Heather Kelly. She's, of course, always in our traffic center, keeping us straight on what's going on the roads. Well, this morning, she did a special report for Utah's Morning News about this traffic study that was released, citing the most dangerous types of intersections in Utah.
Overall, Utah has one of the lowest death rates per capita for traffic accidents. However, more than 1,200 Utahns died in auto crashes over the 5-year study. According to the data, almost a quarter of those fatalities happened at intersections, with the 4-way being the deadliest. The second most dangerous in Utah is the 3-way stop, or T intersection, followed by a Y intersection. The Y interchange is a junction where the road splits into two different directions or merges from those two directions into one road. The study is a reminder for drivers to be extra vigilant at any type of interchange.
Okay, first of all, I didn't realize there are so many letters out there.
For intersections.
There's a T, there's a Y, there's a U. And I think we've all experienced this. And we've probably all had a close call. I certainly have on the Ys. especially when it's two roads merging into one. That's extremely dangerous.
I almost accidentally ended my life on I-80. This is so many years ago. It had to have been like 2003-ish, maybe a little earlier than that. I was coming downtown. I was coming down to studio, KSL television, I had a report for duty on a Saturday morning. So I was coming off of I-80, and, I was heading westbound. I came off of the 215 East Side Belt route, heading westbound, and the road splits. Okay, it's a freeway. I don't know if they say that it's a Y intersection or not. It sure felt like it was like the end of the road for me. I had to be down here at a certain time, and I was running a little bit late, although it wasn't that bad. And I was I thought I should be turning off the freeway and like going this way on the Y, but then I made a last split-second decision, and I don't know why. It was just like I was completely confused about that particular area. All of a sudden, because it's not the first time I've driven it, which goes to show you it can happen anytime. So I was, in the moment, I'm like, no, I got to go left. Well, I almost split my car in half because I was trying to go left at the last minute, and I should have been going right. I was confused, and then there's this barrier right there. Would have split the car in half. And that was the moment I realized, if I'm going to screw up, just screw up, and you can go up to that intersection and get off the freeway there and make a turn or whatever, come in a different way. It's only going to take you an extra 2 or 3 minutes. So when we start to panic in those moments, like there's a way out, and it's just staying calm and then just going with the flow of traffic instead of trying to cut over 3 or 4 lanes to get off the road or whatever it is.
And I know it's an oversimplification to say just make everything standard, because a lot of times you're adding an on-ramp when it wasn't originally designed, whatever it might be. I understand it's more complicated. But at the same time, if anyone's ever been to the Hillfield exit in Layton, it is the most disastrous design I've ever seen. I've been driving this my entire life, and you cannot make a left-hand turn through the intersection. They literally make you take a right-hand turn, go a half a block down, and then do a U-turn to go south or whatever direction you want to go. Like, you've got to turn right to do a U-turn.
That sounds like the Draper intersection. It's messy.
It is a mess, and it's so confusing, and it's frustrating. And I understand we're trying to prevent the dangerous left-hand turn in intersections. The problem is when everything is different, and this is the only one I've experienced was to this level in Layton, it gets confusing. And confusion and hesitation, I think, is every bit as dangerous as a left-hand turn.
I'll also say this. It's not only confusion, it's just drivers who are flat out in too big of a hurry. So the most dangerous intersections in Utah, according to that report, are the ones that are just intersections, 4-way intersections. Y'all are running way too many red lights. The light is beyond red. It's like burnt red. It's in the maroon range, and you're running it. And as a result of just watching and seeing so many people run red lights in this state, it's horrible. It's horrible. You risk so many lives, including your own. I will not leave an intersection when my light turns green without looking left, without looking right, and without looking left again. I encourage everybody to do that because people in this state, are in way too big of a hurry that they're willing to kill somebody.
Let people beep at you and tell you to hurry. You be safe.
Yep, absolutely. I'd rather have a horn honk at me from the driver behind me
than a T-bone.
Any day, Dave. Straight ahead, if you heard about this mine proposal right up in Parley's Canyon, they're worried about it blowing dust all over the Salt Lake Valley. You haven't? Peter Johnston in next, up live with a full report on it.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour as the Utah legislature winds down its general session. Couple of bills that could give Utahns big tax breaks now headed to the governor's desk.
The full legislature has passed a nearly $170 million bill to reduce the state income tax rate by 0.1% from 4.65 to 4.55%. The House and Senate have also passed a bill that expands an $1,000 child tax credit. As it stands now, that credit is only available for kids between 1 and 3, but if signed by the governor, it would up that range from 1 to 4 years old. People can claim that tax for each child in that age range on the last day of the given tax year.
That's KSL News Radio's Adam Small. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Lawmakers expected to vote today on a short-term spending bill to avoid a government shutdown tomorrow. The legislation expected to pass the House but could face opposition in the Senate. House Speaker Mike Johnson today told reporters the bill meets Republican calls for spending cuts.
It sticks to the numbers, the agreement on spending. It does not go above that. It will increase a bit defense spending, but there will be real cuts to non-defense discretionary spending.
And your money at this moment, the Dow starting the day down, but the NASDAQ right now is up a few points. And just ahead, it looks like a nice-looking weekend until the storm gets here anyway. KSL News Time, 10:01. News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Hey, have you saved more than $200,000 in an IRA or 401k? You may not realize it now, but you've got a big problem on your hands. And that problem is taxes. Because if you don't take advantage of some tax planning strategies now, Uncle Sam could take a big chunk of your hard-earned retirement savings. Learn how you could reduce the taxes on your IRA and 401k with a free retirement tax savings analysis. It's from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $200,000, schedule your free tax strategy session now by calling 801-896-9622. Discover the tax planning strategies that could dramatically reduce your taxes in retirement. Call 801-896-9622. That's 801-896-9622.
Advisory services offered through Boss Retirement Advisors, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. Insurance products and services offered through Boss Retirement Solutions.
I'm Jason Walton. In business, I mentor hundreds of Utahns as they pursue their American dream. The same dream career politicians treat with contempt. They send our money to our enemies abroad while shortchanging our veterans at home. It's not right. They're letting drug cartels escort criminals and terrorists across our border. It's time to stand up. So I'm running for the United States Senate. Stand with me. I'm Jason Walton, and I approve this message.
Paid for by friends of Jason Walton for Senate.
For the right repair and the right paint, the right choice is manufacturer-certified Martins Collision Repair. Hi, I'm Tiago Martins, and few have met the rigorous certification by Kia, Dodge, Infiniti, Chrysler, Jeep, Nissan, Hyundai, and many others. But it's one more reason that Martins is your right choice. Check online at martinscollision.com. On State Street in Orem and in Salem, we work with all insurance companies.
The right repair, the right paint, the right choice. Martins Collision Repair.
For the right repair and the right paint, the right choice is manufacturer-certified Martins Collision Repair. Hi, I'm Tiago Martins. Many shops have ASC and ICAR-certified technicians, but few have certifications by General Motors, Nissan, Chrysler, Hyundai, Jeep, and many others, making Martins your right choice. Online at martinscollision.com, on State Street in Orem and in Salem, we work with all insurance companies.
The right repair, the right paint, the right choice. Martins Collision Repair.
If a man calls another man crazy, it's a compliment. This is my buddy Joey's crazy. Joey's like, you're just being nice.
Jim Gaffigan, Barely Alive Tour.
Because if my wife was standing here and I was like, this is my wife, she's crazy, I'd be dead. And all of you would applaud. You'd be like, well, that was a teachable moment. Yeah.
Jim Gaffigan, a night of all new material. Friday, October 25th at Eccles Theater. Tickets on sale Friday at jimgaffigan.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Michelle Rowe.
Well, crews just cleared a vehicle fire. This was northbound Foothill Drive at Parley's Way. They did have the right lane blocked, but as I said, they just had that cleared. We also have a little bit of slowing northbound Bangerter Highway at 4700 South. Wasatch Front businesses and property managers, GoPave Utah provides all asphalt repairs for your parking. For patching and paving along the Wasatch Front, contact GoPave Utah. GoPaveUtah.com. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
And our KSL weather, cloudy with south winds, high in the upper 50s today and tomorrow. Storm moves in on Saturday with rain changing to snow by Sunday. Right now, 45 degrees, mostly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
You know, Dave, I love that our team of reporters and producers keeps a really close eye on legislation as it winds through the process. Because so many changes can be made along the way, and this is case in point. There's a mine that's been proposed in Parley's Canyon. Parley's Canyon, just off I-80, right? And those in favor of the mine say, we need the material here. You know, we've got a lot of roads that need to be built. We've got homes that are going to be under construction. We need the material here. But those against it, like a mine, we don't want the dust that comes from a mine floating into the Salt Lake Valley.
We all love mining as long as it's nowhere near us, as long as it doesn't impact us. Think of the Kennecott copper mines. You know, out on the west side. It's produced more copper than any mine in history. 20 million tons over the years. And copper, obviously, we have to have it. Electric generators, your home, your car, all the wiring, appliances, we need it. But it's also such a ginormous hole, you can see it from space. And we don't like that, right? It's an eyesore. Oh, but we have to have the copper for all these reasons. We don't like mining. We have to have it. We have no other choice.
Well, this latest legislation would affect Parley's Canyon. And Peter Johnston, KSL News Radio, has been tracking this piece of legislation very carefully. It would not only impact Parley's Canyon, but as I talked about, the potential for dust to flare up. So very important story for a lot of people who live not only in that area, Parley's Canyon, but also for people who live in the Salt Lake Valley. So he's going to join us live in just a moment and tell us what's happening right now with this legislation on Capitol Hill. But first, let's get with Peter on his in-depth report on this issue.
That's the sound of a semi carrying between 10 and 25 tons of gravel out of Parley's Canyon. If you've ever driven up I-80 eastbound, you might have seen that gravel pit on your left. Big gray mounds of dirt, maybe the occasional house-sized bulldozer. That quarry is about 11 acres. But there could be a quarry at least double that size coming to Parley's soon.
In the scenario where we do have a 600-plus acre gravel pit, you can expect to see hundreds of acres of land disturbed.
That's Katie Balaker with Save Our Canyons, an environmental advocacy group. She's referred to the original 2021 request to build a 634-acre mine up Parley's. Other environmentalists, though, say that there's a bigger issue.
Because there's enough wind that it blows all the dust down into the Salt Lake Valley.
That's Sam Dunham, a property owner near the proposed mine and a supporter for Save Parley's Canyon.
So they can claim they're in compliance when all they're doing is dumping their waste in the wind stream that scatters over the Salt Lake Valley.
But there's a big need for mines like this, according to State Representative Casey Snyder.
The reality is that when we do not have gravel pits, places to mine aggregates close to the centers of construction and urbanization, it costs more. Prices of homes go up, prices of roads go up, and we're rapidly outpacing with demand our supply.
So the tug of war is this. Utah needs aggregate material to build its freeways, housing, and that new school down your street, and this location is close to that demand. But communities like Mill Creek and Salt Lake City could be breathing and drinking particulates from this mine for years to come.
Think of all the ways we use gravel right now. In foundations, backfill, concrete, drainage, roads. We use thousands of dump truck loads, I don't know, maybe daily. It is absolutely necessary any kind of time we have construction. So, Peter, this is a fascinating story. Thank you for reporting on this. So where are things at with this proposal?
Yeah, Dave, thanks so much for having me on. It's great to be here. In terms of what's happening with this proposal, it's really interesting because I'm not going to get too nerdy about it and go all the way in. But basically, this thing started back in 2021. It was originally two proposals. One would be a 20-acre mine. The other was a 634-acre mine. That is about 50, 60 times the size of the current quarry that already sits next to I-80 if you're going up there and you see those gravel trucks going by, like you said. So where we're at right now is that there's been a lawsuit by the property owner against Salt Lake County because in 2022 they said you can't actually mine up there. They passed an ordinance saying that, like, there's no mining in our foothills. And property owner says that's ridiculous. This is my property. And where we're at now is that there's been bills after bills after bills trying to make it so that the county can't actually stop it. So this year we saw HB 502. That's by a guy named Representative Casey Snyder. He was the guy that you heard on my little report there. And he's saying basically what you said, Dave, which is like, look, we need this stuff. It's close. It's right against the interstate, right? And I mean, to Debbie's point, too, we're going to have a stadium potentially, maybe two coming. And so that's going to require a lot of building materials. Mm-hmm. But on the flip side of this, I spoke to a lot of critics. We can get into that. And basically they're saying that this is just the worst place you could put a mine because picture Parley's Canyon like a wind funnel. And it's just blowing particulate dust already from the current quarry all over Mill Creek, all over Salt Lake Valley.
So it sounds like from your in-depth reporting, I know you did a series of reports here at KSL News Radio, that this will be studied now instead of put into motion. Is that correct, Peter? Is that where things are at on Capitol Hill this session? Yeah, and that's a huge shift. The bill that became a study basically said no county can put a ban on mining, which a lot of people at the county level did not like that I talked to. And so one really interesting person I talked to was Mill Creek Mayor Jeff Silvestrini. He was, I don't want to say livid, but he was very upset, let's just put it that way, about this bill because basically it was taking away the power of counties to have jurisdiction over their own territories. Now, there was another part of the bill that was kind of sketchy to certain watchers. Laura Briefer, she runs the Salt Lake City's Public Utilities Department, right? Yes. Now, the Public Utilities stopped 2 miles from where this mine would have been put or would be put, and the bill would require Salt Lake City, which doesn't want the mine, to pump water 2 miles out of its jurisdiction to this mine, right? So the bill was heavy, and basically the bill sponsor, Casey Snyder, worked with all these stakeholders, changed it into a study, and that guy I mentioned, Jeff Silvestrini, mayor of Mill Creek, he totally changed his tune. And he said, this is actually an amazing bill. I'm so grateful for the work of the bill sponsor here. So it was huge change of heart for him.
Peter Johnston, thank you for your report.
So it sounds like it's going to be studied for a while. So if you're on the one side of it, oh my goodness, we don't need this, we don't want this, there'll be some studies, there'll probably be some time for public comment. You can get up to Capitol Hill or tap into some of the meetings up there to figure out what's going on. It's a lot of people do not like this idea.
I don't know if I told you this, but I used to drive big dump trucks. Another one of my crazy jobs that I used to have. It is so heavy. They are such gas guzzlers or diesel guzzlers. If you really do want to have a gravel pit that is out of sight, out of mind, away from everything, it is so expensive to transport it. Like, say you were to stick it in Nephi or something like that, like really far away from.
The diesel price.
Yeah, the cost. Yeah. And again, when you're talking gravel, you're talking about millions of tons. I mean, it's so much that you have. If you have a big development, you've got so much weight that you've got to transport. That it's very, very expensive. That's why they're so interested in having gravel pits close
Yeah.
and easy access, especially to major arteries.
Great perspective. Glad you used to drive a dump truck. What a guy.
It's a big truck.
What a guy. Straight ahead, we've been talking about this all morning long. It started with Utah's Morning News' coverage of this armed guard bill on Capitol Hill that allows armed guards inside our schools. Paraprofessionals, janitors, folks who work in our schools can carry. And this bill has actually been passed. It's on its way to the governor's desk. But there's also a study that Dave and I took a deep look at in the 9 o'clock hour that shows that armed guards and guardians inside schools actually make things worse. We're going to speak to the sponsor of Utah's legislation and ask him if he's seen that study and what he thinks about it next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
Soft water is not something that naturally comes into your home. That's why you need a water softener. Utah has some of the hardest water in the entire country. I learned this because, number one, I've experienced it living here most of my life, but Connecticut of Utah came out to my house because my wife and I were talking about making the investment into our home, saying, okay, what are the benefits of soft water? And this is the list. This is just a portion of the list that Connecticut gave to us and taught us. He said, number one, with such hard water, where are you going to see it in your home? Well, number one, you'll see it in your showers. You have hard water buildup and stains also on your faucets. You probably have seen that hard water buildup in the kind of the corrosion that happens there as well. You need a jackhammer to get some of this stuff off when you're trying to clean things up and shine them up. When we had soft water installed, that all just disappeared. It's better on our skin, better on our dishes and our laundry. You can tell the difference. You don't have those hard water stains on your glasses that are impossible to shine up. It just disappeared. As soon as we got soft water, those spots on our dishes, it disappeared. So if you're interested in soft water, give Connecticut of Utah a call, 801-576-8600. They're an authorized Connecticut dealer, 801-576-8600, or, of course, online at softwaterutah.com.
It's finally here.
The day of prophecy has finally arrived.
Dune, Part 2.
He who can destroy a thing has the real control of it.
Friday, Andy and Steve give you the first look at the much-anticipated Dune, Part 2. The Movie Show. Fridays 11 to 1 on KSL News Radio.
Would you like to be part of an important research study and receive up to $550? The Beehive study at the University of Utah is comparing how well 2 different FDA-authorized booster vaccines protect people against COVID-19. You can decide to get a booster or not and still participate. By joining the Beehive study, you'll have the chance to receive up to $550 for completing activities such as weekly COVID tests and brief surveys about your health. Call 801-203-0320 or email beehivestudy@utah.edu to learn more. You can also visit the study website at www.beehivestudy.com.
For John's 60th birthday, his family planned to drive down Old Route 66. But the trip took a detour when his wife got sick with RSV. It's a highly contagious virus that can lead to breathing problems and hospitalizations.
This year, we don't want to cancel our plans. We're protecting ourselves with Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, respiratory syncytial virus vaccine.
Abrysvo, a vaccine to prevent lower respiratory disease from RSV in people 60 years and older. It's not for everyone and may not protect all who receive it. Don't get Abrysvo if you've had an allergic reaction to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may decrease your response. Most common side effects are tiredness, headache, injection site pain, and muscle pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-844-989-7284 or visit abrysvo.com.
So don't wait. Ask your pharmacist or doctor about Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, because every breath matters.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Tim and Amanda.
Yes, KSL is a trusted institution. I mean, it's a 100-year-old institution, and I know that with that legacy comes a responsibility and a trust. But I want you to know, we have diverse voices at this radio station. Young people, we have people of all different ages, of all different cultural backgrounds, who put their 2 cents into what stories we cover from day to day, a voice that is given to those stories.
When I've been kicking around the Salt Lake City market for 40 years, I felt like I needed a decade of radio under my belt before I even attempted to climb that mountain. So as important as KSL is to you, you need to know that it's an important institution for both of us and something that we take very seriously, in the responsibility of providing the right news and information for you and your families every day and carrying on the tradition of this great radio station.
Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, Utah's legislature has passed a couple of tax bills meant to put more money in the hands of taxpayers. Second, 2 bills have passed dealing with guns in schools. One provides training for teachers who want to carry a concealed weapon. And third, there's agreement in Congress on a short-term spending bill to avoid a government shutdown. 45 degrees, mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
There's just a few hours left, a day and a half left up on Capitol Hill in the 45-day session of the legislature. And they approved, lawmakers did, it's heading to the governor's desk, the armed guards in Utah classrooms, Dave. We've been talking a lot about that.
Yeah, called Guardians, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you hear us talking about the Guardians, it's gone through a couple of different conversations and versions. The latest is what we want to dive into and figure out, okay, where did we land on this? Because I know there was some discussion whether or not this is arming teachers and principals, or if this is just everyone but teachers and principals.
Representative Ryan Wilcox, live on the line with us. Wow, you're a heavy hitter up there on Capitol Hill, because you joined me yesterday, and I appreciated that, Representative, about the ballpark funding. And now this is your plan as well to get guardians in schools, and it's heading to the governor's desk?
Yeah, that's correct. And this one is, that's the topic, this piece of it, but that's maybe 1/20th of this bill. So it is a school security complete overhaul for us.
Okay, let's go into the other 19/20ths. at least some highlights.
Yeah, give us the highlights.
Yeah. Well, I've been talking about this study this morning. I'm happy to address those things. Of course, we've looked at all of those, but there's a number of pieces with that. One of the struggles with that particular study that you've been talking about is the lack of data. And so that's always problematic when you're talking about a study, when you admit out front that you don't really have enough data to understand how these things happened, or let alone the response. And so that's been a struggle that it's mostly not collected.
Representative,
so one of the more important requirements of our bill is that we will actually begin to collect school safety data, require that it be reported, and then be able to make informed decisions in the future.
Well, let me just, for our listeners who are just joining us, who didn't hear the 9 o'clock hour in the study you're referencing, and thank you so much for doing that and addressing that right off the top. But for those of us who weren't listening, the Office of Justice programs reviewed 133 different school shootings and from like 1980 to 2019. And the result of that study said the data suggests no association between having an armed officer and deterrence of violence, and that, in fact, the rates of deaths were almost 3 times greater in schools with an armed guard present. And for those who missed that and want more information, they can go back and listen to the entire podcast episode of our show on that. But I thank you so much for addressing it. And you're absolutely right. This is the case with a lot of these types of studies. The data wasn't being collected at that time the way we're going to collect it now, because we didn't have the same problems that we have now. So thanks for pointing that out.
And thank you for recognizing that too. We are in a dramatically different scenario than anything remotely related to 1980 that we're dealing with right now. And, we were talking everything from the firearms themselves, which is, one of the, in fact, I thought that study was fascinating in that it listed specifically that, it put it on armed guards, but then said, except for the real number one factor was associated with increased casualties based on the perpetrator's use of assault rifles or submachine guns.
Right.
Right. So the yes, except for this other factor was dramatically more important in that. And, we just haven't had anything, and that's been one of the struggles with this topic. We haven't had anything comprehensive, both from a data standpoint and a process standpoint, meaning what do we have in place for deterrence? Another limitation on some of the studies like that is that what we're really after right now, and I hope that the message goes out, that if you target a Utah school in any way, you're going to be met with resistance. Because, and the study correctly identified issues with folks that freeze, and law enforcement officers. I mean, you were the PIO for the FBI here locally for a while.
Right.
Even trained agents like the FBI don't always get it right.
Yeah.
Sometimes the human factor happens, but that's also why we don't send people in alone into dangerous situations. Anytime we can, we follow that buddy system, for lack of a better word, but we have to have redundant processes. The Parkland site that, me and myself and General Burton went down to walk through Building 1200. That was one of the greatest failures of armed security that we've ever seen. That school resource officer stood outside for 41 minutes before he went, and the thing was over in 3 minutes and 51 seconds, with 17 people murdered and another 17 shot because he froze. He didn't do it. He didn't have the courage to go in and do what he had to do to end the threat. And there were others that did. So you had Chris Hickson, you had the AD and the assistant AD and the football coach that went in without anything to defend themselves or to save those kids. So they lost their lives because they weren't protected, because we didn't allow something there. That school now has 3 full-time school resource officers and 6 guardians. Because that redundancy is so important. Yes, at Parkland.
So that's where when I was reading this, it just felt so counterintuitive, because my wife is a paraprofessional in an elementary school, and I thought, if heaven forbid something were to happen at that school, would I feel better if she were armed? Would I feel safer if other people around her were armed? Or would I just want them all to huddle in a classroom and try to barricade a door? So when I saw this study come out and say it doesn't necessarily guarantee if there's an armed guard at the school that it will be any safer, and in some cases it will be more dangerous, that's where at least the common sense part of me struggled with that study.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, there's other things in the study too. It goes into suicide, and frankly, unfortunately, a lot of these are troubled youth, right? That are looking for an opportunity to go out in a place of glory, they think, somehow, by murdering their classmates. And that will in itself lead to different factors, but that also speaks to one of the more important parts of the bill when we talk about mental health and the work that we've done on the back end with Safe UT and others that are part of this project. When we finally get to the place where we are correctly identifying what those are. So the bill includes something we call early warning system support, right? And that is being able to identify properly. The shooter in Parkland, for example, had over 200 interactions with the adults in his life, 43 with law enforcement, 17 of which would have prevented the kid from ever owning a gun again, from ever even having the opportunity to purchase a firearm. But we failed there, one, because we didn't collect the data. The data that we did collect, they lied about, right? And they falsified along the way. And that led to a really passing the buck around with this kid. In our bill, we require reintegration plans that will use a multidisciplinary team so that when there is a threat, they are not allowed to ignore it going forward. They will identify it. They'll sit down with the parents, with the professionals, and then they'll have a plan. If there isn't a plan, if a kid, because of House Bill 14 that's already gone through, because of that, when a child or anyone really makes a significant threat now, when it makes a threat to kill their classmates or someone else targets a school, that will now be a second-degree felony that will require suspension or expulsion and a reintegration plan that follows that in order to come back, right? So this is not any kind of a scenario that we've seen in the past. This is something that we are dealing with actively right now, including with our federal partners. We've had 60 lockdowns across the state of Utah since August 15th, 3 of which were planned attacks.
Wow. There's so many angles to this, Representative, and we know your time is really short. You're super busy in these final hours. So our producer will be reaching out to your team up there on Capitol Hill because we need to talk much more about this in the weeks ahead, and we'd love to have you and invite you back on the show. Thanks so much for being willing to be available to us. This is a huge piece of legislation that'll impact a lot of Utah families.
That really helped me, Deb.
Mm-hmm.
It helped bring a different point of view, because as we were reading that study this morning, there were a lot of holes in it that I was looking to be filled. And I think he did a very good job. Representative Ryan Wilcox, thank you for joining us.
Straight ahead, it's the story that Dave has been just so excited to talk about, because the president has once again forgiven another $1.2 billion in loans for nearly 1,000 Utahns will benefit from this.
We're canceling student debt for borrowers who are enrolled in the SAVE plan and have been paying student loans for as little as 10 years.
But the real question is, am I a dope for even considering paying back my wife's student loans? Or should I just sit and wait for the Biden lottery to hit the Noriega family?
It's 10:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. 2 Utah high schools have had carbon monoxide leaks in 2024. Sherry Pace with Utah's Poison Control Center says we need to stay up to date on furnace and carbon monoxide detectors upkeep.
Just regular maintenance, certainly yearly, maybe even more often in a situation like a school or something like that.
Carbon monoxide in public areas seems to be more prevalent in 2024. We've also had reports of a church and some connected townhome units that have also had leaks since the first of the year. 60-year-old man was ejected through the windshield of his car yesterday when it rolled off I-15 near Cove Fort. The Utah Highway Patrol says other drivers stopped to help, but the man died after he was taken to the hospital. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Biden and former President Trump both visiting the border with Mexico today. At the same time, House Speaker Mike Johnson says he asked President Biden to reinstate the Trump administration policy called Remain in Mexico for migrants seeking asylum.
I told the president that at the White House again. He acted as though he had never heard that, didn't understand it, said he couldn't do it. I said, that's not true. Well, Mexico doesn't want that. Mr. President, we're the United States. Mexico will do what we say.
House Speaker Mike Johnson. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average, down on the day right now. The NASDAQ, on the other hand, is moving up a bit. And our KSL weather looks like a sunny day and clouds moving in with south winds. But then we've got a storm on the way. KSL News Time, 10:33.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
American energy is under attack. Joe Biden has waged a war on American natural resources and made it harder to produce affordable, reliable, and clean energy right here in Utah. Our energy prices are already going up. Biden's policies will make it worse. But Republican John Curtis has our back. There is no greater supporter of unleashing American energy than John Curtis. John Curtis knows our abundant natural resources help keep us free and safe, powers our economy, keeps the lights on, and keeps Utah on the move. John Curtis is Utah tough. He's taken the fight to Joe Biden and the Washington politicians who all want to hurt American energy. And now we need a conservative to take the fight to the United States Senate. We need Republican John Curtis, a strong defender of American energy dominance in the fight for us.
Paid for by Clear Path Action Fund. Not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
Guys, did you know your testosterone affects everything in your system, including how you feel and perform every day? Right now, Revive Men's Health Salt Lake City will check your testosterone for free. Knowing your T levels is the first step in understanding if you have low T. Your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED. Maintaining an appropriate T level can change your whole life. Most men start to see changes in their hormone levels in their 30s. Experience and results matter. So what are you waiting for? Get your T levels checked today by local, experienced, and trusted men's health experts. They've helped thousands of men since 2011. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Call Revive today and schedule your free testosterone test, free exam, and free consultation. Call Revive Men's Health at 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Well, you've heard me talking about it for a couple of weeks now, but I hit my soda weight loss goal, and I actually went a little bit beyond it. I aimed for 65, and I lost almost 70 pounds in 5 months. So soda's done with me, right? Not on your life. This is where soda really starts to add value to their weight loss program. Soda stands for state of the art, and listen to this. They're not letting go of me. In fact, their goal is to help me keep it off now for the rest of my life. So I get to continue to meet with my nutritionist, Kristen, and they're teaching me how to keep going as I re-add the foods that I've been avoiding during the weight loss portion. I mean, there's a reason that soda is the #1 weight loss company in America for client satisfaction and client results. Check out the proof. You can just look at me, or you can go to sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com, and check out the 8,500 plus 5-star reviews. I look good, I feel good, and that's thanks to Soda Weight Loss. Soda Weight Loss is, say it with me, state of the art.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
All quiet along the Wasatch Front roadways. Earlier issues have all been cleared. It's a delay-free, crash-free drive on your valley freeways and main secondaries. With fresh snow comes fresh tracks at Murdoch Chevrolet. Right now, receive 2.9% for 6 years on Silverado. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
And our KSL weather, cloudy with south winds, highs in the upper 50s today and tomorrow. Then a storm moves in Saturday with rain changing to snow by Sunday. Right now, we're at 48 degrees. It's mostly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Forgiving college debt. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
President Biden just took another hatchet to student loans, forgiving a lot more debt.
We're canceling student debt for borrowers who are enrolled in the SAVE plan and have been paying student loans for as little as 10 years. If they took if they borrowed less than $2,000, it's forgiven. $12,000, excuse me. The loan is forgiven.
See, there's just been so much student loan forgiveness, even Biden forgets. Is it 2,000? Is it 12,000?
For those that made $227 bajillion, that will be forgiven. Wait, how much? 12,000. 2,000.
It adds up
Even,
to
just deliver the line, buddy.
Stick to the prompter. It's another $1.2 billion worth of student loans. It goes away. Poof. And it is helping nearly 1,000 Utahns, too.
When people in student debt relief, they buy homes. They start businesses. They contribute. They engage in the community in ways they weren't able to before. It actually grows the economy.
Can I go old man Noriega on you? Back in my day when I went to school, I used to pay my debts.
What are you going to forget what you said in April of 2021 about the first round of student loan forgiveness here and be like, well, now that my wife has student loans, what do you think about this, Dave? Because you're in a much different spot now than you were back when he first started rolling out this plan a few years ago. Your wife has loans now, and I'm so glad she's going back to school. I think this is amazing. Yeah. I know you're all in on it, too. You've been super helpful and supportive of this.
Yeah, this is awesome. I've never had student loan debts. I've never taken out a student loan. My wife hasn't. Now, 20 years after our kids started, getting a little older, she decided to go back to school. So we now have some student loans. Number one, super easy to get, by the way. I didn't realize, it's basically sign up. It's so easy to get student loans. Like, how much do you want? Can I have $10,000? Sure. You bet. You can have it.
Did you go to a bank, can I ask?
No, it's just the federal loan, the FAFSA.
Oh, through the school?
Yeah, the school arranges everything. It's very easy. The easiest money I have ever been given that I have to pay back. Okay. But yeah, the question I have is, one of the options was, do you want to start paying it back right now? Or at least a portion of it, pay the interest.
Is it a payment plan? Was that it?
Yes.
Or is it
They're
an option for
asking if you
payment?
want to pay while you're going to school.
Okay, I don't know anything about these, so
no.
that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that is absolutely an option. And I start hearing all these stories. These stories are coming out about how much loan forgiveness is out there and some loan forgiveness for teachers. I'm like, well, my wife's going to be a teacher. So I'm like, do I want to start paying back my loans right now? Conventional wisdom, Dave Noriega, from the time I started paying for things, has always been, you pay off your debts as quickly as possible. Now, sometimes that takes 10 years. Sometimes it's a 30-year mortgage. But my initial reaction is, I'm going to pay it off as quickly as possible. Am I, what's a good word to say, a dummy for even considering paying back the student loans, because there's this off-chance possibility that Joe Biden's going to forgive it at some point?
I love the word choice, first of all. Congrats. That's the best word you've ever.
A dummy. Am I a dummy for it?
You're not a dummy. I've never thought you were a dummy. I think you're just perplexed. You're confused. And you're trying to figure out what the future holds.
Because there's no rhyme or reason. We have no idea what loan is going to get forgiven next.
I would agree.
It's totally the lottery.
Well, remember, the Supreme Court shut him down initially.
Yeah.
So he promised, he was making good, sort of, on a campaign promise to wipe out student loan debt. He did it through executive order, and then the Supreme Court ruled, you can't do that. So we thought the plan was dead.
Yes.
Dead. It wouldn't come back. And then he's figured out a way through the Department of Education to here and there forgive loans. And it's a little bit here and it's a little bit, he's breadcrumbing. That's what that's called, right? It's just breadcrumbing, a little bit here, a little bit there. And so what's happening now is you're getting strung along.
Yes.
You've gone from just always pay back your loans no matter what to, well, maybe just maybe because of even the profession that she's chosen, this will be wiped away, and then I'd be a fool to pay back $20,000 instead of keeping it for my family.
Because
I get it.
Over the last 3 years, President Biden has forgiven $3.7 million in student loans, over $130 billion in student loans that he's just wiped away. If he gets reelected, if he's spending another 4 years in office, why in the world would I start paying back my loans?
Because it's the right thing to do. It is just, honestly, it's the right thing to do, right? I mean, it is the right thing to do. You're trying to play the odds here, and that's really a tough thing to do.
Okay, everything you just said, you're right. It is. My responsibility, I'm taking this debt on full willingness. Like, we know what we're doing. We know where we're getting into. We know that we're going to have to pay it back. We do that willingly. It was a decision we made. We discussed. We're fine with it. But if there's a chance that he's going to wipe it away, what's the incentive for me to pay it off right now? To me, it doesn't make any sense. In fact, let's look a little bit at this. Now, this sounds maybe a little hypocritical because I've been hey, it's your debt. You pay it back. I still feel that way. I absolutely feel that way. Like, no one is responsible for this debt other than my wife and I. But he is wiping away debt, a little here and a little there. And if I can save $10,000, how do I say no to that?
That's it? That's all it is to go back to school?
I don't know what the end bill's going to be, but I just threw out
That's another
hypothetical
problem.
number. Yeah.
That's another problem with student loans, right?
Yeah,
you
I don't know
really
how
know
much
what
it's
the
gonna
you
be.
don't know what
Yeah,
the
no,
end
great
game
point.
holds. I've heard that over and over from people that this is a messy process to begin with. So, do you want to take phone calls?
Yeah, I want to know if people are feeling the same way. If you're either in school or you have student loans, have you stopped paying? Have you reduced your payment in hopes that it will eventually, somehow, through hook or by crook, get wiped away?
801-575-TALK.
I can prove to you that that is exactly what is happening. Okay, sorry.
801-575-TALK. Yeah. Do you pay back your student loans, or are you waiting and hoping for loan forgiveness? Taking your live calls next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
When you have a loved one that is going through addiction and struggling with it, I know it can be such a difficult thing, not just for the person that is fighting these battles, but for the family as well, Debbie.
And that's where Renaissance Ranch can really help family members. They offer free family support services through weekly online classes. And the great thing about Renaissance Ranch and how they've structured this, Dave, is that these classes are open to the public, and you get to attend as many of these public open classes as you want to, as you need to.
Because they know if the family members, the loved ones, are involved in the recovery process, research has shown this to be the case. The chances of a positive outcome skyrocket. It's a much better chance.
Renaissance Ranch also offers a women's support group and couples recovery group as well.
Which is crucial because there's so many elements and so many people affected. They really want to specify and individualize your experience. And they have all these classes that are available. All you have to do is go to renaissanceranch.com to learn more. There's a big list. It's easy to figure out when these classes are. Again, free online classes to the public. All you have to do is go to renaissanceranch.com.
Tired of living in your parents' basement or renting? You want to buy a home, but you were told that your debt-to-income ratio is too high. This is why you need a highly qualified mortgage lender. Rick at Loans by Rick has 22 years of experience and has helped hundreds of clients lower their debt-to-income so they can make the most important purchase of their lives and buy a home. As with any profession, there are different levels of mortgage lenders, so why not work with the best lender? One that can cut through the mortgage jungle and get you into a home. As interest rates come down, home values will go up, creating multiple offers which will raise home values higher. Don't wait to buy a home, buy now. You can always refinance later and save hundreds of dollars. Let Loans by Rick guide you with your mortgage process. Call 801-809-SAVE or click loansbyrick.com. That's loansbyrick.com.
Rick Kirschenbaum, NMLS 241179, and Vintage Lending, NMLS 287106 are equal housing lenders. Some restrictions apply.
God, I'm so stressed. It's a brand new year and our business is busier than ever.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending the Ooma cloud phone system with auto attendant and more than 35 features.
Ooma?
Yep. Switching to Ooma is a cinch. Starts at $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Visit Ooma.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. Ooma. Smart communications for the smarter business.
Your gas light's on. We need to fill up.
Gas around here is too expensive.
Don't drive all over searching for the lowest prices. Just download the free Upside app and get cash back for every gallon of gas you buy. I've already made around $200.
You can make that kind of cash back just for buying gas? I'm stopping now to download Upside and fill up my tank. Download the free Upside app to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or e-gift card. Download the free Upside app now and use promo code GIFT for an extra 25 cents per gallon cash back on your first fill up. That's promo code GIFT.
Transform your old, outdated kitchen with Half Price Granite. For a limited time, Half Price Granite is offering special pricing starting at $25 per square foot installed. That's lower than most big box stores. These prices are some of the lowest around. Granite, quartz, marble, and quartzite, all starting at $25 per square foot installed. Call 801-486-1700 or visit halfpricegranite.com. Half Price Granite, affordable luxury.
The
The life of a small business owner, keeping the lights on, calling all the shots. And then there's workplace accidents. 500-degree ovens, rusty nails. Danger lurks around every corner. Workplace accidents can happen, but there is an easy way to keep your employees covered. Talk to your agent about workers' comp coverage from Pi, or go to piinsurance.com and get a quote. Safety first, then Pi Insurance. Individual rates, offerings, and savings may vary, subject to policy terms and conditions. Not available in all states and situations.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, 2 schools are among the buildings that have had carbon monoxide leaks in Utah this year. Second, the Highway Patrol says a man died in a rollover crash near Cove Fort yesterday. Third, while President Biden and former President Trump visit the border with Mexico today, the House Speaker is trying to get Trump-era policies reinstated. Right now, 50 degrees, mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic.
Oh, the phone lines are lighting up to talk to us about student loan debt and forgiveness. But first, let's remind you, this is it. It's Leap Day, and it's the last day of our secret contest, the podcast contest that we've been running for our listeners exclusively. So you need to find our podcast show on kslpodcast.com or wherever you listen to podcasts, and then you're going to listen for the keyword.
It is not AirPods Pro, though that's what you can win. Listen for the keyword. I'll give you the keyword. You text it to 57500, and you're entered into a chance to win some AirPod Pros.
Yep. Make sure you subscribe. We love you for it.
Forgiving college debt. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
So Dave is wrestling with whether he should start paying back his wife's student loan. Now it's new to them that you haven't done this before. You've never taken out student loans, and she's decided to go back to school, which is awesome. She's super smart. She'll be an amazing teacher one day here for the kiddos across our state. But for right now, you've taken out a loan to make that happen, right?
Yeah, and the government keeps forgiving student loans. Even though the Supreme Court said you can't do this, they're like, we found a little trick here. And the Department of Education has been able to forgive over $130 billion worth of student loans.
And I said, pay them back. Don't sit around and wait and hope that you're going to be getting loan forgiveness. But you're torn. I'm surprised by that because you've always been I took out the loan,
yes,
I'm going to pay it back kind of a guy.
I voluntarily took out this loan. I knew what I agreed to, that I'd have to repay, and I agreed to pay it with interest. All of that is absolutely true. But this is the problem. If you're going to offer me chocolate cake for breakfast, I'm going to eat the chocolate cake for breakfast. Because in this scenario, the calories don't even count against me. It's like you get the calories. I eat the cake, you get the calories. Because with loan debt forgiveness, sure, the person benefits, but the rest of us pay it. They pay for it. So it's wrong on a million different levels. But at the same time, am I going to say no to a $10,000 gift?
Let's ask our callers. Lawrence from Murray, going to pay back the student loan, or do you sit and hope and wait for forgiveness?
I'm kind of mixed on it.
Really?
I understand the need to do it, but here's the thing. My situation, I don't know, I think it's a little different. 20 years ago, I went to school for automotive diagnosis and repair. In that time between then and now, I've never had a job in the field. Nobody will hire me because they don't think that I know what I'm doing. In the meantime, my student loans have been partially paid off by one wife or another, and I'm on disability living off of less than $1,000 a month, now divorced, twice divorced. And the interest has gotten to be as much or more than the original student loan. The amount of the original student loans has been paid back. But I can't pay back on these student loans at this point. I didn't go into it thinking, I'll just wait until somebody decides to forgive it. I fully intended to pay them back. But I can't at this point, and I don't know where to go from here. I would be happy at this point to have some student loan forgiveness on loans that gave me an education that I have yet to be able to use and get a job in the field.
Lawrence, that's a situation and a half. I would not, and certainly
there's there's a lot of
messy.
programs out there, and let me just direct you to studentaid.gov.
Good.
It's a great resource. Good. You can talk to your loan lender and try to negotiate something. I know that is out there. It's not a guarantee, but it is a good resource.
Hi, Jake. Jake from Magna.
Hey, thanks for having me on and allowing me to share my opinion.
Yeah, go for it.
So my wife and I, we recently graduated, and the way we graduated and afforded the college expenses was we were part-time students, and we found that without needing to get straight A's to get scholarship, a lot of students can qualify for Pell Grants. That got us through college, and we're debt-free. And here's why I think people should be responsible to pay them off is I've heard a lot of my colleagues who go to college to continue on to a master's. The reason why is because by continuing your education, you can put off needing to pay off the loan, but that means your loan gets bigger, and they hope for these dream jobs but don't learn to work. And because of that, that's why a lot of students are going into debt, is because they keep getting more education in anticipation of getting a better job, but keep stacking on the loan, which also can add to the interest. And I would love to hear some investigative work done on that, because that is what puts them more into a bind rather than learning to work.
No, it's a great point. The interest continues to increase. Thank you, Jake. Susan from Midvale, what do you think?
Okay, so I missed just one part. I love your program, by the way.
Thank you.
I just missed the part where the interest starts. Where does the interest start? Does it start on day one, or do they defer that for a while?
No, it starts on day one.
And what is the interest rate?
Oh, I don't know. How about that? I took it.
Is it pretty cheap?
No, it's 6 to 8%, I think.
Okay. So if it were me and I thought maybe in the future that loan might be forgiven, I would just bank my payments. I would bank as much payment as I would pay towards that loan. I would just put it in the bank.
Susan!
And leave it there and let it grow.
Did you just solve my problem?
That's wisdom.
Susan, I think you just solved my problem.
No, that's wisdom.
That's genius. You sit on it. You bank it. If it comes through, awesome. If not, you know what, Susan?
You got the money set
Gold
aside.
star.
Yep. Good
Gold
job.
star.
Susan from Midvale. Keep listening. We love that you listen. Hi, Mike. Mike from
Hi
South
there.
Jordan.
How are you?
Yeah, good. How are you? How's South Jordan? Are we good out there? It's my neighborhood.
It's what? It's wonderful out
Awesome,
here. Yeah,
awesome. Pay back those loans or wait for forgiveness?
Well, I'm okay with them being paid off by the government. I realize that puts me in a minority, I suspect. But here's my point. The federal government spent $1 trillion saving businesses during COVID. Billions of dollars to banks, cruise lines, airlines, and hundreds of thousands of dollars to small businesses right here in Salt Lake City. They didn't ask for it, they didn't expect it, but the federal government says, "Hey, listen, we're in a bad recession brought on by the COVID. We're going to help you get through this." And everybody bought into that, and the federal government spent over $1 trillion helping people out. I had no problem with that. I think that the need was there. I don't see a big difference between that and the federal government just stepping in and saying, "Hey, these people are in head over their heels in debt. Why don't we help them out?" They get out of it. They're going to buy homes. They're going to buy cars, washing machines, and whatever. It'll spur the economy, and indeed it will.
Mike, thank you for the phone call. I wanted to look and see what the average payment is. Lending Tree has done some great research on this and what the average student loan payment is. Any gut reaction on it?
I hate when you do that. You're like,
are we talking
just
hundreds,
pull a
thousands
number
of
out
dollars?
Of thin air. I don't know.
$200 to $300.
I was going to say $250. So I was,
$200 to $300. Now the promise from President Biden is, if we forgive these loans, they're going to be starting businesses and buying homes. Not at $200 a month. Like, student loans are not nearly as devastating and debilitating as we have made them to be. How much are you paying on? I'm not asking you. This is rhetorical. I'm not asking you to. But what are you paying for your car?
Yeah.
What are you paying for your cell phone bills and your Netflix accounts and all these things?
Yeah.
You start piling all those together. Come on. What's $200, $300 more a month for a student loan, right? This is not nearly as debilitating for most Americans as they claim it is. But boy, it's a hot button topic around election time. And sure enough, this forgiveness is happening in an election year.
I just love that it has you thinking and thinking a little differently. Yesterday, we learned that Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell is stepping down. Boyd up next with his insights on what this means for the Republican Party back in the Senate.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. We'll know soon whether lawmakers will fund a program that allows farmers to give up growing some crops to help the Great Salt Lake. Representative Doug Owens asking the legislature for $500,000 for a split-season leasing program. That's where farmers can send some water they would have normally used on crops down to the Great Salt Lake. Lawmakers will vote on it when they approve the final state budget before the session ends tomorrow night. We have an update now on the woman's body found in a creek in Brigham City. Police have identified her as Fanny Escalona. She was found unresponsive in the water yesterday morning, later died at the hospital. Investigators still working to figure out what happened and how she got there. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The man accused of attacking a judge in Las Vegas last month, claiming he was insane at that moment. ABC's Alex Stone reports.
Deober Redden was seen on viral video flying over the bench in the courtroom attacking Judge Mary Kay Holthus. Now his attorney not denying Redden did it, but says Redden was insane at the time and doesn't remember that moment.
Not guilty based upon reason of insanity.
Attorney Carl Arnold outside court saying
he suffered from severe paranoid schizophrenia.
A 2-week trial has been set for April 29th. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day right now. The NASDAQ is up just a bit. And our KSL weather, the clouds are going to be moving in, but it'll stay warm the next day or so. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Okay, that's good. Whoa, Dave!
Sorry, I'll go grab some paper towels. You can't let Dave pour things. He works at JCW's. They fill stuff up past the brim over there, like their milkshakes. They're thick, rich, and oh my gosh.
Delicious?
Oh no. Dave's filling up Crystal's car for her.
Dave, stop!
Hey, this is Clark, JCW. Stop into any of our 5 locations today. We're located in American Fork, Thanksgiving Point, Provo, South Jordan, and our new location in Harriman. Come in and see why at JCW's we believe in quality, and a lot of it.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and I'm proud to tell you, we don't lay off employees when things get tough. During the pandemic, we didn't let one of our installers go. Instead, we had them clean and remodel our offices so they could still get paid. Remember the 2008 housing crisis? It was a financial nightmare for even the biggest contractors. Still, we didn't lay off a single worker. Nope, we sacrificed profits to keep paying everyone. Look, when the economy's down, most contractors are quick to lay off their workers. It's the easiest way to save money when times get tight. But at RGS Exteriors, we're loyal to our people. You know why? Because it's the right thing to do. People first. People always. That's the RGS way. For gutters, siding, windows, and more, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's rgsexteriors.com, 801-280-3110.
Do you enjoy fishing, hunting, or just soaking in the beautiful outdoors? Then you need to check out the KSL Outdoors Show, airing Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. and midnight on KSL 5 TV. Outdoors with Me, Adam Eagle, is a unique show that takes viewers on a journey through Utah's beautiful backcountry. Watch it live every weekend or find the Outdoor Show on YouTube, KSLOutdoors.com, Facebook, and Instagram. It's the KSL Outdoors Show, brought to you by Camp Chef.
Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save 40 to 80% on a hot tub and swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save 40 to 80% on a hot tub and swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Utah State Fair Park. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates this weekend only. Utah State Fair Park. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Utah State Fair Park. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Utah State Fair Park. Friday, noon to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Utah State Fair Park. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
Freeway traffic in good shape. Salt Lake City PD on the scene of a hit and run investigating this accident at 1100 East, near 1100 East Laird Avenue. That's about 1200 South. Watch for them at the scene and use caution. Need a perfect event venue? There's a place. This is the place, Heritage Park. Ideal for weddings, events featuring 11 venues, beautiful grounds, affordability for any celebration. Call or visit thisistheplace.org. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, cloudy, south winds and highs in the upper 50s today and tomorrow. Then a storm moves in on Saturday with rain changing to snow by Sunday. Right now, a south breeze keeping things warm, 52 degrees and mostly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Dave and Dujanovic have inside sources.
So we have inside sources because we have Boyd Matheson. When news broke about Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell stepping down in November, we knew that Boyd would have a lot of information on this.
So I stand before you today, Mr. President, and my colleagues, to say this will be my last term as Republican leader of the Senate.
Now, typically, Boyd, this is the opportunity for everyone to remember the good old days and to honor the career of Mitch McConnell, but I would like to have a little more truth because this has been a divisive individual, effective in many ways, but I'm sure you've had more than a few run-ins with
I have
Mr.
a few
McConnell.
scars, yeah.
A few scars.
Well,
my eyebrows have grown back. But
and he's been back there since the mid-'80s.
Yeah.
I think I was graduating high school when he went back there from Kentucky, and you worked back in D.C. for Senator Mike Lee. Yeah. So you would have some interaction with him, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And what are your thoughts? Give us the inside scoop.
And some of it was positive.
We don't want the political answer here.
No,
we want the tea.
So here's the real thing about Mitch McConnell. Whether you loved Mitch McConnell or hated Mitch McConnell, he ruled with an iron fist in the Senate. No question about it. He ruled that conference, and he, in many ways, was a tag team partner first with Harry Reid and then with Chuck Schumer to really control what happened on the floor. And so he read the conference. He knew where the votes were. He understood that part of it incredibly well, maybe better than anyone who's ever really understood the Senate. I've been called out by Mitch McConnell and his staff, as you're doing the debate, as you're coming up for big votes. All of those things happen all the time. That's part of the deal. The one thing I never, ever, ever questioned about Mitch McConnell was his commitment to the institution of the Senate. He loved the Senate and did a lot to preserve it, even things that not a lot of people know about. There's a lot of inside baseball of things getting rid of the filibuster and some of those things that people had called for and looked like were going to happen. And it was Mitch McConnell who said, no, that's crucial for the minority party, regardless of whether the minority party is the Republicans or the Democrats. This is really important. And so he does love the institution of the Senate. And did a lot of things to help preserve that.
A steady hand, no question, also has the reputation for letting bills die on his desk.
And sadly, that's become the job of the majority leader in the Senate. In fact, our own Rob Bishop, when he was in the House, he was the one who really coined that phrase, where the Senate is where great legislation goes to die. And whether it was Mitch McConnell's desk or Harry Reid's desk or now it's Chuck Schumer's desk, there is just a desk there that's just full of really good bills that the Senate will never take up. But also remember that even going back historically, the Senate has always been designed to be the great deliberative body. It's supposed to be the cooling saucer to the hot tea of the House of Representatives. And sometimes it has been, and sometimes it hasn't. Sometimes it's just been a really slow, mucky kind of process there in the Senate. But Mitch McConnell recognized that. He did like that deliberative process and trying to protect that portion of it. Now, Mitch McConnell, no question, a partisan, and played that to a T in so many ways. If you look at, I think probably one of his biggest legacies will be 3 nominees to the Supreme Court under the Trump administration. And part of the reason that happened was because he was the majority leader and held the nomination of Merrick Garland.
Yep.
It did not happen. That was partisanship right there, no question about it, and changes some precedent, some things that I vastly disagreed with. But having those 3 nominees during the Trump administration will be something that he will definitely be known for.
So when he steps down in November, and then he's still serving until 2027, right? January 2027. What does this do in terms of the shift in power for the Republican Party, or what's your take on that?
The timing on this is so interesting to me because I didn't think he would do anything until he was really done. So to do it now is interesting. He is one of the very few Republican senators in the Senate who has not endorsed Donald Trump. So part of me wonders if he thinks, well, I'm going to stay out of it, and if I have nothing to lose, and if I'm not going to be the leader anymore, then I don't have to deal with Trump. I don't think he's had a conversation with Donald Trump in 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I
don't think he's uttered his name in 3 years.
Is he mad?
They have no relationship. It's all transactions between those two.
Okay, I couldn't blame him if he were
and
extremely bothered by what transpired on maybe January 6th. But I don't know. I have any inside information on this.
I actually think that was the straw that broke the camel's back for Mitch McConnell as it relates to Donald Trump. In fact, you can go back to his floor speech after January 6th, and it was scathing. It was probably the most fired up and scathing rebuke on the floor of the Senate that I've seen from a Republican in a long time, and particularly during that season going into impeachment and so on. All of those proceedings, but he was that was a really crucial day in Mitch McConnell's legacy. I think that speech after January the 6th.
So, which octogenarian is going to replace him?
Well, I'll tell you this: the odds are 9.5 out of 10 that the person will have the first name of John.
Okay.
It will be John Thune, John Cornyn, or John Barrasso. Those are the 3 other leaders amongst the Republicans right now. Now, you could have someone else emerge from that. And this vote actually won't even take place until December once they get kind of things done past the election and it's determined who the replacements are for, senators that win and lose and retire. So it will really be the next group of senators that will decide who that will be. But the jockeying is really between those 3 Johns. And I think John Thune probably has the inside track at the moment.
Are all 3 McConnell acolytes?
They've all worked together with him for a number of years. They all have their own little feel and flavor. John Thune's much more in the communication space, which I think would be a good thing if you're a Republican in the Senate. He's a little more focused that way. Cornyn is much more about policy. And Senator Barrasso from Wyoming, Westerner, and he's kind of a collaborator guy. So they each kind of have their own little lane and their little niche. And I think there'll be some others that will get into the fray as we get closer to November.
Did it surprise you at all, Boyd, that he did this so, I want to say early? It's like a 2-week notice. Yeah. It is like in November. And I'm looking at the clock, and it's not even, it's not even February 29th yet.
I think there's 2 reasons for that. Okay. One, he's obviously had health issues over the last 6 months. People have been covering that. And I think he wanted to make sure that he had that moment to make the speech that he gave yesterday, which, by the way, I will say was a really good speech from Mitch McConnell. It was really strong and really important to go back and look at. So I think he wanted to give that, and if his health is a little uneven, I think he probably wanted to do that before he wouldn't be able to deliver that speech. So I think the speech was one thing that was important to him. The other is, I think, the election, and I think he wants to have a little wiggle room to be able to be critical of the former president should he be the nominee for the Republicans.
I found it fascinating that he did say that he would return to the body.
Yeah.
You know, something that Kevin McCarthy did for about 5 seconds when he stepped down as Speaker of the House. And he's like, I'm out. I'm not finishing out my term.
And remember, most of them have to do that so they can continue to fundraise through the cycle, which they can then transfer over into a PAC or a super PAC or an institution somewhere down the line.
Boyd, thank you. This portion of David Dujanovic is brought to you by Window World. Window World of Utah today for the best value in windows and doors. Give them a call, and that's no baloney.
Next, a judge has ruled in the favor of KSL5 Television and the investigative team that has been trying for a year to get a copy of Attorney General Sean Reyes' work calendar. A judge ruled in KSL5's favor this week. We'll ask the KSL5 investigative team if the AG has turned over his calendar yet. Next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
This is Trent Reed with Ryan Valuation, formerly Economics Partners. We built one of the premier valuation firms in the country, then were acquired by Ryan Tax, for a great valuation, by the way. Now, as Ryan Valuation, we're the same top valuation practice with the resources of a global firm. Love him or hate him, or anything in between, if Trump had hired us, he wouldn't have New York claiming he owes them $354 million. I'm half kidding, but in all seriousness, there is no better team to hire for your valuation needs than my team. Whether you're an attorney needing help with litigation over a valuation matter, a business owner or executive needing your company valued for tax, financial reporting, or strategic reasons, a private equity partner needing valuation of your portfolio, or an accountant with a client needing a valuation, Ryan Valuation is the right call. We're headquartered here in Utah, but do our work nationwide. To hire the best, email us at valuations@ryan.com. That's valuations@ryan.com.
The Cougars pull out a big win on the road.
Beating the 7th-ranked Kansas Jayhawks.
Saturday, it's BYU, TCU.
Right down the barrel and right through the hoop.
Pregame is at 6 and tip-off at 7. Listen Saturday on Utah's legacy home of Big 12 basketball and the BYU Cougars. KSL News Radio.
Asante came to TurboTax after graduating from culinary school and landing a job in the hottest kitchen in town.
My hands are full all day, every day. I love it.
Asante, as your TurboTax expert, I'll make your moves count, guaranteeing 100% accurate filing and your maximum refund. Sound good?
Yes, expert!
Switch to Intuit TurboTax and make your moves count. See guarantee details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you've ever experienced running out of hot water before your shower was done, or hard water spots on dishes and fixtures, I've got a deal you might be interested in. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and you probably already know that a tankless water heater and a water softener solve both issues. If you've ever thought about looking into getting a tankless water heater, here's the deal I was talking about. Through the end of February, we're including a free water softener with every new tankless water heater we install. The best part of this deal might be that you never have to worry about being the last one to the shower again, or that you don't have to waste the money keeping 40 to 50 gallons of water hot 24/7. To take advantage of this deal, call Any Hour Services before the end of February. The visit's free and there's no obligation to buy. If you decide to have us install a new tankless water heater, we'll throw in the water softener for free. That's right, a free water softener when you purchase a tankless water heater. Pick up the phone and call Any Hour Services right now for all the details. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
I'm Jason Walton, candidate for U.S. Senate. I'm recording from the Tucson sector of our southern border, and nobody's here. Our government should defend our territory, but President Biden, Mitch McConnell, and career politicians are funding war in other countries while the cartels are waging unchecked war here on American soil. I'm standing up to build the wall, end catch and release, and secure the border. Stand with me. I'm Jason Walton, and I approve this message.
Paid for by friends of Jason Walton for Senate.
Are you looking to get a COVID-19 booster to stay healthy this cold and flu season? If you join the Beehive study, you'll have the chance to receive up to $550 for getting a booster and completing weekly COVID tests and brief surveys about your health. Don't want to get a COVID-19 booster? That's okay too. You can still join the Beehive study and receive up to $550 for completing the weekly COVID tests and surveys. Help advance research at the University of Utah while taking care of yourself this season. Call 801-203-0320 or email beehivestudy@utah.edu to learn more. You can also visit the study website at beehivestudy.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the legislature will decide tomorrow whether farmers can lease half their water to the state to help fill the Great Salt Lake. Second, police in Brigham City have identified the woman whose body was found in Box Elder Creek. And third, the man accused of jumping over the bench to attack a judge in Las Vegas, now claiming he was insane at the time. Right now, 52 degrees, mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
David Dujanovic.
There's a really important rule for transparency that happened this week in the state of Utah, and it has to do with the Utah Attorney General's office being told by a judge that they must release a copy of Attorney General Sean Reyes' work calendar to KSL. KSL 5 Television has been in on this transparency fight for about a year now. The investigative team back in studio with us to walk us through what this latest ruling is. Here's a KSL attorney, David Raymond, representing KSL in this case, who said this about the results.
It's a huge victory for public accountability of elected officials. It was unfortunate that he decided to fight this as long as he did, but the court saw through the arguments that they were making and it sided with the public.
Sorry, David, mispronounced your last name. I should know better by now. David Ryman was the attorney for KSL who represented us there.
So why do we care so much about calendars? You know, I'll ask the investigative team here in a second, but let me tell you, if you were to look at my calendar, you'd have no idea that I'm on the air every single day from 9 to noon. I just don't put it in my calendar. I've got the worst updated calendar in America, so it looked like I'm the laziest employee at KSL. So Annie Knox joining me with Daniela Rivera of the investigative team at KSL. Let me ask you, why do you care? Why are you so obsessed about calendars?
Well, you know, the Attorney General of Utah has a few more staffers working for him than I think we do in news over here at KSL. This is the most basic record of what he's up to on a day-to-day basis. You know, he can hold news conferences, he can send releases to us, he can post online about what he's up to. But this is a more complete picture, and it doesn't contain just the information he wants to promote, but really a more complete idea of how he's spending his time.
So, Annie, give us an update to remind our listeners who are just joining us on this battle. It's been going on for a year. How do we get to this point where it ended up before a judge?
It's been a long road.
Yes.
And it's not over yet.
And it starts with a simple request for a government record, which, we do a lot of here at Broadcast House. We request government records all the time.
You know, he had been drawing a lot of attention for some trips he had been taking. After the 2020 presidential election, he went to Nevada and talked about voting irregularities that he said he saw there. We know he had been traveling with a nonprofit, Operation Underground Railroad. So we wanted to know more about how he's spending his time in the job. You know, it's a big job. He's the top law enforcer for the state. He oversees how the state defends itself against civil lawsuits. So we requested the calendar just to get a better idea of what he's up to.
Danny, what did you hear from the judge that intrigued you?
You know, the judge said this to me is not ambiguous. He ruled that under current Utah law, the day he made his ruling and the day we made this request, that the AG's calendar is a public record subject to GRAMA, our open records law, and that the public has a right to see it. And he is affirming a prior decision made in May last year by the State Records Committee, who also read the plain language of the law and decided that this is a public record that the public has a right to see.
And has that calendar been turned over yet?
It has not. We learned shortly after this hearing that AG Reyes' office intends to appeal this ruling. They are still fighting to keep this public record, what a judge decided is public record, from the public.
So will this go to the Utah Supreme Court potentially? Is that how this works? Do we know yet? Well, he's going to start appealing?
We're waiting to see the appeal,
Okay.
and we trust our attorneys to show us the way forward. We did speak with David Ryman yesterday, and he said he is not concerned at all about going to battle again on an appeal.
Lawmakers did take swift action after that ruling. Maybe you can explain to our listeners a little bit what they did.
A bill popped up just last week as we were getting ready to go to court that would make all these calendars for public officials and public employees secret.
Pretty cut and dry.
It passed within a week of showing up. It passed, and last night the governor signed it, so it is law.
And there was some clarification even, I think, regarding calendars, like this was always the intent, right?
They did put a note in there saying just that.
That it was always in the intent these calendars be private. Did you fact check that calendars are private? Because I know the investigative team has been doing fact checking on what's going on Capitol Hill. You've been doing some great work there to fact check what lawmakers are saying on Capitol Hill. What did you find in the truth test?
Thank you. No, our truth test series is meant to, cut through the politics and look at the facts, and that found that misinformation was shared in support of this bill. For example, the sponsors claimed that these records have never been subject to GRAMA and have never been disclosed under GRAMA, and that's just simply not true. We have a calendar sitting on Annie's desk right now that we got from the state auditor just last year through a public record request, and journalists have long asked for and received these records under GRAMA. Another claim at the last minute about safety concerns, lawmakers saying these must be made secret to protect our safety and our security. The examples that sponsor Kurt Bramble gave were one example of in 2020, demonstrators showing up outside the state epidemiologist's home. That was used as an example as to why these should be made secret. Well, we called her. It had nothing to do with her calendar. Her calendar wasn't released to her knowledge. People found her address online. And so we found that those examples provided by the sponsor for safety concerns were simply unfounded. It had nothing to do with calendars. And just another note on that, the State Records Committee, when it ruled that this should be released, it said, hey, if you have safety concerns, AG Reyes, you can redact the location of your meetings. The public does have a right, though, to know who you're meeting with and when.
Okay, so as the Attorney General, say he's meeting with somebody, it's a victim perhaps, and he wants to keep that identity. Are you looking for specifics, or can they redact some of that information?
There are exemptions in GRAMA for victim privacy, for information that would compromise an ongoing case, for safety and security. All of those exemptions exist. What the Attorney General's office sought to do, and what lawmakers and the governor made sure of last night, is that these records in their entirety are now off limits.
I've put in so many GRAMA requests. I used to be with you guys in the investigative unit and have looked over tons of them. And government agencies in this state are very familiar with what needs to be redacted. And so often I'd get like a report or a bunch of reports. I have a bunch sitting on my desk right now for something that I'm working on. And there's so many lines drawn through that there's just black lines. You can't see the information. So government knows how to deal with GRAMA and how to redact, so the information that needs to be kept private can be kept private. I'm trying to wrap my brain around why we have to keep fighting for a record that clearly now a judge and the State Records Committee has told the Attorney General is public information, and that the public has a right to know this information. And this has turned into a year-long battle now. If it would have been released in the beginning, as you said, like what John Dougal, who's a state auditor, did, which is give you his calendar, this would have been a story, maybe not even a story, because we don't even know what's in the calendar yet. But here we are battling a year with the AG here at KSL 5, and still you don't have the calendar yet, with no clear line in sight as to whether you're going to get that or not.
And Debbie, I would just note that this battle is being funded by taxpayer time, money, and resources. actively fighting using the public's money to keep a public record, what a judge has called a public record, from the public.
Daniela Rivera, Annie Knox from the KSL investigative team, thank you so much.
Great job. So good. When you were in court, Annie, I'm going to just do a quick follow-up. In court on Monday when this took place, Danny, you were there as well. Was there one thing that the judge said to you that you really took away with as you were hearing the decision to release this calendar that you want to leave our listeners with? Was there anything in particular?
I think it was sort of the basic conclusion that if a public official has a calendar and multiple staffers can see it and use it for their jobs, that's public.
And the judge said, from my read of your story, multiple staffers do have access to that calendar, which makes sense. Having worked for a government agency before where there's somebody in charge, multiple staffers would have to have access to the calendar to make changes when they're on the road, whether that's to a travel itinerary or maybe there's a news conference that they have to get to. So that makes total sense. Great work. Look forward to continuing hearing your updates on this report. And I know we'll be able to see more on KSL 5 News as you continue to track this story. Straight ahead, our minds this week have been heavily focused on this proposal to bring a Major League Baseball stadium to the Fair Park area. Dave and I broadcast there live this week for a whole 3 hours of our show. And that was on Tuesday, right, Dave?
Tuesday.
We intended that day to have the Utah Transit Authority on the line with us live to talk about expansion for public transit to that area. But we got so jam-packed with information on the taxes and the funding and everything else that we lined up UTA next.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. A man who had been shot was found lying on the ground overnight in an east side Bountiful neighborhood. Lieutenant Andrew Smith with Bountiful PD said the man was given life-saving treatment while he was taken to the hospital, but there he was ultimately pronounced dead.
We have about 18 casings that were located on scene, so it's very evident that it is not a self-inflicted.
So far, though, no suspects in custody. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. One woman is dead, nearly 1 million acres burned by a wildfire in the Texas Panhandle. ABC's meteorologist Sam Champion reports winds are expected to drive what's called the smokehouse fire through the weekend.
That fire in 2 days became Texas's second largest wildfire. The winds will be at about 30 miles per hour today, but there's stronger winds moving in this weekend. So 30 mile per hour wind all the way into the weekend, some gusts to 40 to 60 miles per hour.
And the smokehouse fire just one of several burning in the Panhandle. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day, while the NASDAQ is having a stronger day, up about 100 points. And just ahead, we'll look at our weather with a storm moving in toward the end of the weekend. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. A little experiment here that you can try in your home just for fun. Take 2 water heaters, run hard water through one and soft water through the other, then count how many years each one lasts. Now, of course, I can save you all that trouble because the experiment takes place every day in countless homes right here in the state of Utah. The result's always the same. Hard water makes water heaters and other appliances conk out years before they should. And that's why when Dee and I built our new home, I informed the builder that we'd have Connecticut put in our soft water. I just won't settle for anything else. With Connecticut, you'll use 2/3 less salt. All the mechanical design makes it virtually maintenance-free. And I'll tell you what, your water heater and other appliances will last years longer. All you have to do is contact my friends at Connecticut of Utah, an authorized Connecticut dealer. To learn more, call Connecticut. It's 801-576-8600 or log on to softwaterutah.com.
As the new year begins, you and your credit card might be ready for a quiet break. Experience the relief of a low rate with the Mountain America credit card. With a 3% cash bonus on balance transfers, it's more relaxing than ever. Open a Mountain America credit card today for your limited time bonus. Details at macu.com/transfer. Loans and approved credit. Membership required based on eligibility. Offer can change or be withdrawn at any time. Terms, conditions, and restrictions apply.
Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson. Our goal every day on Inside Sources is to help you divide the rage from the reason, elevate the conversation, connect the dots, and make the news make sense in your world. We have conversations with great thinkers, with great leaders, and great people who are just out there making a difference in the world. Now, we do talk about politics, but only so we can discuss society and culture. And then we explore society and culture so we can discuss principles and the people in America and the state of Utah who actually live them and apply them every day. We bring the best and brightest minds to the state of Utah, and we love to take the Utah model and send it out to our nation's capital and beyond. Every day on Inside Sources, you'll be part of that conversation. To help you understand things in a different way, we'll get you to think again about what you think you know, but most important, we're going to help you have confidence to have crucial conversations in your community and in your own home.
Join Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson, 1 to 3 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents a gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
No problems on the Valley freeways, but we have had a crash called out at Highland Drive and Fort Union Boulevard. That's approximately 20th East and 70th South. Crossroads of the West Gun Show comes to Ogden this weekend at the Weber County Fairgrounds. Get great deals on guns, ammo, plus you can buy, sell, or trade at the show. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, cloudy, south winds today. That'll keep things warm. The storm moves in on Saturday with rain changing to snow by Sunday. 54 degrees right now, mostly cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
It's an important story. It's been controversial. We're talking about the Major League Baseball stadium. We just felt, KSL News Radio felt this is such an important story for so many in the community, whether you're a taxpayer, you live in the area. Dave and I took the show on the road. We didn't go far, just down on North Temple. And right at the Fair Park there, to 9th West-ish, between 9th West and Redwood Road, because that's where the MLB stadium would be. We were there for 3 hours on Tuesday, and so many angles. The one angle we weren't able to get to is the idea of tracks expansion or front-runner expansion to that area.
Because we're not just talking about a $1 billion stadium. We're talking about a $3.5 billion investment in the West Side. So there are huge changes coming, and public transit will be absolutely essential because this is not an area, and baseball stadiums, busy areas like this in general, it's going to be a parking nightmare. And public transit will play a critical role in getting people there.
And parking nightmares spill into neighborhoods.
Yes.
And cars end up being parked illegally in front of people's driveways.
And towed and booted, and everyone's miserable, ruining the very great experience that they're pushing for.
And now we know this week that lawmakers are scrambling to get the funding mechanism in place, and they did. They gutted the legislation that they had originally proposed that would be this MLB stadium on the taxpayer side would be funded to the tune of $1 billion, largely through an added transient room tax or hotel room tax that would be tacked on about $1.50 for every $100 you drop on a night's hotel stay, at a hotel anywhere in the state. Well, there was some pushback from the rural communities for a lot of different reasons, but eventually what ended up happening with this is they pulled that portion out of the legislation and instead said, okay, we will use car rental tax increase on car rentals. Of course, mainly that'll probably happen at the Salt Lake International Airport. But also the sales tax that's generated from the new retail and the restaurants and the ballpark and merchandise will then go to this fund to help fund the baseball stadium. But what we really haven't talked about yet is, what if we have to expand track lines? What if we need more bus routes to the area? Where does Front Runner stop, Dave? You ride it from time to time?
Right on North Temple. It is super easy. It's walking distance, quite honestly, from the ballpark. But again, you have a light rail connection right there at North Temple. So Carlton Christensen joins us right now, the chairman of the UTA Board of Trustees. Thanks for joining us. I would guess your mind's kind of racing right now with this possibility.
I'm excited for lots of reasons. I live in the area actually as a resident and served and represented it for 16 years on the city council. But I'm really excited about the transportation opportunities and certainly the work we've already prepared, not only for this opportunity, but transit in general that will serve that area.
What's the vision? Will you need more tracks, trains? Will you need more lines in that area? Do you know yet?
Well, we're currently doing a study that will help us, and we've done a recent study about the future of light rail. The one great advantage we have to this site is that we already have rail in place, and so we can run additional car sets on the same rail, so we don't have to pay for new infrastructure. We're exploring right now a potential second line to the airport, probably coming out of the University of Utah. And both of those will pass Dave's station there at North Temple and be able to connect people. And the work we're doing in conjunction with UDOT will get front runner service down to 15-minute segments and or 30 off-peak. And it has the ability to bring a lot of people in, transfer to the light rail. And there's 2 stops that would be on both ends of the stadium. So I'm very optimistic. But we're going to do a transportation study in the next few years in conjunction with our partners, and we should have a better idea what the needs truly will be.
Maybe this is applicable, this question is, because we have the Jazz. But have you noticed when there's a big Jazz game or a game at the University of Utah where light rail is being used, and it really is people are packed, do you create like a surge, or do you throw in extra routes during that time? And would you probably have to do something similar to a baseball stadium?
We absolutely do. We always plan for additional surge service. We have the fortune, because of our large blocks, to have 4 sets of cars on one particular track line. With the University of Utah in particular, we do a program with them where they help supplement the cost, and we do a ticketed fare, and that allows us to also run some additional express buses to get people to stations and those kinds of things. And just a few years ago, we did back-to-back concerts for Garth Brooks, which was probably the largest kind of gathering you'd get in that scenario, and we moved a little over 60,000 people in 2 nights, and so. It takes a lot out of us, but we know how to do it, and I'm confident we'd be able to work with MLB owners and the surrounding area.
Carlton Christian is the chair of the UTA Board of Trustees. He also lives in the area where this ballpark will eventually be built. If we can get a ball team. I have a pitch. What do you think of this, Carlton? If you ride light rail, you ride a bus, or you take front runner to get to the ball game, you get a free ride with your MLB ticket.
Well, I'm all for it. I'm not sure the new owners would be quite in sync with us, but we will work out something that's advantageous to those that take the system, and we want to serve the community for sure.
Well, we appreciate you joining us, Carlton Christensen, the chairman of the UTA Board of Trustees. And Debbie, part of what intrigues me so much about the location of this Major League Baseball stadium is because they couldn't have picked a better place for public transit. Again, it's one thing to have light rail running right past it, and Carlton said there would be one on each side of the stadium. That's great. The fact that you have a drop-off from Front Runner, the train that stretches from Ogden down to Provo, and it basically drops you off right next to the stadium, that is a game changer. That opens up doors to Utah County jumping on a train, coming to a Major League Baseball game without having to fight traffic in rush hour.
Yeah, but let me. I've got
You have a yeah, but?
I've got a yeah, but. Well, first of all, we just talked a couple of weeks ago to UTA about all of the delays they've been sustaining. So hopefully they can work those bugs out between now and then. Because if you're 30 or 40 minutes late to a ball game, even longer, oh, that's a bummer. But
yeah, it might be the bottom of the first.
Yeah, right.
Baseball's so slow.
It is so slow.
I love it.
Yeah, but I-80 right there, pouring onto Redwood Road, where you get off, that area, it starts backing up real fast, where that doesn't have a whole lot of problems right now. I can take that out toward my house and like cut over to 215, and it is just smooth sailing.
Not on game day.
99.9% of the time. That definitely, it'll be an issue. But who knows? We've got a lot of ways to go. We've got the funding mechanism in place. We don't have the funding collected yet, and we still need a Major League ball team. So lots more to talk about with this. Straight ahead, happy birthday to all the leapers. You're literally the fountain of youth.
Do you know anyone born on Leap Day?
I don't, but people,
I
posted happy birthday to all the leapers on my Facebook page because I was reminded when I listened to Tim and Amanda this morning that it was leap year. So I posted, some people chimed in and said, oh, it's my dad's birthday. So happy birthday to all the leapers.
You only celebrate your birthday once every 4 years.
What a bummer.
Like it's cheating any other way.
I wonder how that works.
You have to skip it.
When you're a child, though, you're only celebrating once every 4 years. You're crying. When you're an adult, you're like, woohoo! So we're going to talk about why we need leap years in the first place. And also, KSL meteorologist Kevin Eubank checking in. You said, Dave, you're looking at the forecast for the weekend?
Windy.
Way windy. Next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save 40 to 80% on a hot tub and swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save 40 to 80% on a hot tub and swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Utah State Fair Park. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Utah State Fair Park. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Utah State Fair Park. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Utah State Fair Park. Friday, noon to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Utah State Fair Park. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Jeff Kaplan.
When you're online, that's sometimes a source of fourth-hand information. Somebody does the reporting. Another website Googles, they find it, they rewrite it, and by the time you read it, you know the old game telephone. But KSL is a source of primary information. We have reporters on the street. They're out in the field finding out the details. And the difference between online and KSL News Radio, night and day.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
My wife was like, I want to go to Hawaii and I want to bring the kids. And I was like, whose kids?
Jim Gaffigan, Barely Alive Tour.
I spent the entire time applying and reapplying sunscreen, which thankfully makes my skin whiter.
Jim Gaffigan, a night of all new material. Friday, October 25th at Eccles Theater. Tickets on sale Friday at jimgaffigan.com. Produced by Outback Presents.
Would you like to be part of an important research study and receive up to $550? The Beehive study at the University of Utah is comparing how well 2 different FDA-authorized booster vaccines protect people against COVID-19. You can decide to get a booster or not and still participate. By joining the Beehive study, you'll have the chance to receive up to $550 for completing activities such as weekly COVID tests and brief surveys about your health. Call 801-203-0320 or email beehivestudy@utah.edu to learn more. You can also visit the study website at www.beehivestudy.com.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. The
the diverse-owned business accelerator hosted by the Salt Lake Chamber and Women's Business Center of Utah is currently accepting applications for the spring 2024 cohort. Program facilitator and entrepreneur Camilla Johnson joins us with more.
When I first started my own business, I realized firsthand how difficult the entrepreneurial learning process could be. Luckily, I had resources to guide me, including the Women's Business Center of Utah. That's why WBC Utah and the Salt Lake Chamber launched the Diverse Owned Business Accelerator program to ensure that every small business owner, regardless of gender, race, or background, has access to vital business resources. By joining our 4-week cohort, entrepreneurs and business owners of all backgrounds can learn essential skills such as establishing a business strategy roadmap, constructing a brand style guide, and clarifying revenue streams. We also provide a personalized peer-to-peer environment that acknowledges every individual business's unique needs. Plus, thanks to the support from Bank of America and Say Money Family Foundation, this $5,000 program is completely free. Don't miss the opportunity to grow your business with us.
For small business owners, the Diverse Owned Business Accelerator is your ticket to a more successful strategic business. Learn more and apply at the Chamber website by March 1st. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, Bountiful police are investigating a shooting death in an East Side neighborhood. Second, how big is a starter home in Utah? Smaller than it used to be, says the Utah Housing Corporation. Third, wildfire burning in the Texas Panhandle is now the largest in that state's history. 54 degrees, mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
February truly did get robbed of days. It's like you blink and the month is gone. So happy leap year. Here we are, February 29th.
And if it's your birthday, congratulations. You get to celebrate every 4 years.
But the fact that it's a leap year, Dave and I wondered, why do we need it again?
You can actually thank Julius Caesar and his astronomer Sosigenes for creating the leap years. You see, back in the day, they wanted to simplify the calendar for the sake of annual celebrations. Well, turns out the Romans may have been onto something. You see, a year is 365 days plus about 6 hours long. Leap year day mitigates that overflow, and without it, our seasons would gradually start shifting off course, and summer would begin in December by the 28th century. Yeah, I know, a pressing threat. But if you were born on this day in 1924, just want to say happy 25th birthday.
It's not how it works. No, we could have fixed it. We either add a day every 4 years, or we could have made every day 24 hours and 1 minute. That would have been the other solution. It's more like 59 seconds.
We could have made March 32 days.
That's true.
I don't. So they went
and
to
rob more from February. The reason February is only 28 days is because it's by far the worst month. Like nobody likes February, so that's why they get 28 days.
I thought that was January.
No, January's way better. New year, you got some holidays.
By the way, that was KSL News Radio's Michael Commit. He aired that report on Utah's Morning News. I thought it was fabulous how he described that he had to go.
Julius Caesar once tried with misogynies to simplify the calendar.
Hi, Kevin Eubank, KSL meteorologist. Happy leap year day.
Happy leap year. How are you guys?
We're good. Wow, Dave was looking over, because Dave does this kind of stuff like you do. He was looking over the reservoir totals, and he thought, we got to have Kevin back on. But also we know that there's some big winds coming this weekend, too. So it's a good time to catch up on how we're doing with water and winds.
Let me qualify, because I thought this winter has been super lame, mostly because there's no snow down here in the valleys, and I haven't spent a lot of time in the mountains. So when I saw Matt Johnson tweet out, oh, yeah, reservoirs are like 86% full right now. I'm like, holy smokes, maybe things aren't as miserable as I thought they were.
No, they're actually really, really good. So remember, last year we had this record year. We filled up our reservoirs, the small ones, and during the summer, we actually kept our conservations up from the previous drought years. So we ended up conserving a whole lot of the water we got from last year's big winter. So the reservoirs are in fantastic shape. And what that's going to allow us to do is to get the runoff from this year and manage that in a better way to maybe get a little bit more out to the Great Salt Lake, to get things to replenish areas that are kind of the end of the line, because we were so concerned about having enough last year. But snowpack's above 100%, reservoirs are at 80%, soil moisture is super good, which means the runoff we're going to get this year is going to be fantastic.
Remember, just not too long ago, a couple of summers ago, we were getting warnings from, reservoir and the marina operators to come get your boats out because, the water levels were shrinking, the lakes or the reservoirs were shrinking, and you had to get your boat out. I remember going up to, oh my goodness, why am I forgetting about it? It's past Parley's Canyon. Hello.
Jordanelle.
No.
Jordanelle.
Keep going. Rockport. I got it. Rockport. And I got there and I was like, where's the water? Boats were getting into trouble because they were, docked there and the water was just going away. So I'm so glad to hear this. This will be great for summer recreation too. And then Davey Downer pointed out this weekend that we're going to get some big winds, and he said they're going to be big winds. What do you know about that, Kev?
So the winds we're getting right now are south winds, and it's very breezy out there today. They're going to get a little stronger each day. So breezy today, windy tomorrow. The winds really continue into Saturday as we await a cold front. And these are the kind of winds that put 70, 80, 90 mile an hour gusts up on top of our mountains. It puts gusts of 30 to 40 miles an hour in the valley. So it blows stuff around. I mean, Dave calls this leaf removal for his yard because it blows it all over to his neighbor's yard. But the truth is it's going to be a windy couple of end of the week and the weekend as we await our next storm. Rain starts on Saturday, quickly flips over to snow, and then snow continues into Sunday morning.
I think you just outed me on my leaf elimination program.
Well, I know you. I've talked to people who live by you, and they know you pray for wind because that's the only time you actually move leaves. Yep. You also pray for rain. It's the only time you wash your car.
Is this? Speaking of which, I got to wash my car.
Wait for the rain, Deb.
I know. I totally do. I need to wash my car. Is it how's next week's commute look then? I have to worry about anything on Monday because I had a day on Tuesday. Thanks, Kev.
No.
Getting into work.
Listen. The storm clears out pretty nicely on Sunday, so we're looking at good shape for the Monday morning commute. And hey, by then it's March and everyone can be happy again, right? Dave's right. 28 days in February is just to get it over with.
Absolutely. Hey, the first thing we've agreed on today. That's great.
Oh, stop.
Kevin Eubank, you're the best KSL meteorologist.
Yeah. So don't forget as well, not only can you get into the final moments of our podcast contest, which you have a chance to win a pair of AirPod Pros by going to our podcast, loving us, subscribing to us, and listening to our podcast where Dave gives away a keyword. But you can also count on us to be right back here tomorrow morning. Yes, we've been now 8 weeks that we've been on Fridays. The bosses said we're going to move the movie show from 11 to 1, which is awesome. Steve and Andy take you through your lunch hour. And then we're on every Friday from 9 to 11. And I have been working on this story all week. Actually, it's not been all week, but we haven't been able to get it on the air yet.
Which one?
The one that we're going to talk about tomorrow. Because after the lawmakers finally approved the funding this week for the MLB stadium, I wanted to know, okay, what happened in other states with their big stadiums? And no kidding, Dave, my search and my research took me right back where I grew up, to the Valley of the Sun, to Phoenix, when the Arizona Cardinals moved from St. Louis and brought the team out west to Phoenix in 1987. Okay, I was there for that announcement when that happened. And it was super, super exciting when it happened. But do you know it was 20 years of financial issues, of stadium issues, 4 different cities passed the project back and forth, fighting each other to get it. Then the FAA got involved because at one point, one of the sites was so close to the flight path that, believe it or not, of Sky Harbor International Airport there in Phoenix, that, believe it or not, the highest point of the stadium that was proposed was going to be like 170 feet away from planes as they were flying in. 170 feet away. And so they came up with this other proposal to put the stadium into the ground, like dig it almost underground. It's wild what happened there.
Put it in a bowl.
They're going to put it in a bowl.
Wow.
I mean, it's just wild. There's so many layers to this story. It gets even crazier of what happened to Cardinal Stadium and how long it took to eventually get an NFL stadium built where they played the Super Bowl at. I think it was last year.
It can be a nightmare trying to build
stadiums.
In general, not just, and this isn't a unique story. It seems like every stadium has drama behind it.
That's a tease for tomorrow's David Dujanovic show. So make sure you join us at 9 a.m. sharp. Happy to be with you on our Fridays. Maria, up next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL